What's up? Welcome back to the channel. You were listening to Ninja Night. This is Chatterbox number 11. Thank you for joining me here on a Friday night. I was pondering it again last week there since Friday, and I was saying to myself, I was like, do you know what? It's absolutely brilliant to see the crowd that were in here last week, given the fact that there was an awful lot of pressure on a lot of people to be looking at the likes of the toy show. Now, the toy show is something obviously that I have no interest in, and as someone that reports on toys, you can understand why. This is a mad channel, as you know. This is a wild channel, as you know. I talk about what's going on in Ireland, and then I talk about what's happening in the wider world. This is very important to me, and obviously I talk about the other stuff as well too, because you got to have a break now and again. It's something that I've seen with great streamers like Dave Cullen, for example, great video makers and content creators like Dave Cullen. He's been someone that has been absolutely 100% on the ball when he's talking about what's happening in the world and also then what's happening in the entertainment industry. Now, as you and I both know, what's happening in the world and what's happening in the entertainment industry are very much so linked. And when you've made that link and understand that link, that is what's important going forward, because they are using these entertainment areas to then push what their agenda is. I'll be doing a video on it, and recently in a Transformers TV show, and this is bear in mind for children, they have a Transformer in it that's saying that their pronouns are they, them. This is 100% being pushed, and it's been pushed on children. It's very important to identify it, and it's very important then that you call it out. What has been happening over the last number of years is people have been calling it out, and what's happening now is more and more people are joining that side of calling it out. It's something that I long started on the sidelines about and looked at different YouTubers, for example, like Dave Cullen, like, for example, Nerdrotic, and various other individuals that were calling it out. And I said, you know what? I need to add my voice to the whole thing that's going on, because these things are 100% linked. And what you've seen over the last couple of weeks, indeed, with Kanye West is how linked these things are. You've also seen, and it broke pretty much last week, was the Balenciaga incident, which was, if anybody doesn't know about that, I obviously won't show the images here for obvious reasons. But what happened was this clothing company decided to have a campaign that featured children in it with various different things that were going on, very much so in front of your very eyes. They had teddies that were dressed up in very inappropriate things. They had children modeling very inappropriate things. And not only that, then, but there was paperwork scattered throughout the photo shoot that was referencing a court case that talked about people online being able to access certain images. That's what's going on. And that's in front of everyone's eyes. Do you know how many people stuff like that has to go through? It goes through at least 20 people and maximum perhaps even 100 people. And Balenciaga came out and they were like, that had nothing to do with us. We didn't know about it. We're firing the people that were involved in that. You telling me, as a massive company, that you have had such an oversight with what went on there, and that's not only the only photo shoot that happened, that happened at other ones. You're telling me that you didn't know about that. You absolutely did. Now, what's interesting from there is that Kim Kardashian didn't cut her ties with Balenciaga. She said she was going to continue with them, and she said she was going to reevaluate their situation. So that probably means that she's going to look for more money. That's essentially what that means. She ain't going to be looking at it and saying to herself, hang on here for a sec. Now, as you know as well, too, if you live in the online world, you'll see that no celebrity has come out and publicly spoken out against Balenciaga, other than the usual suspects on our side. So that's exactly what's going on, and they're showing that to you in front of your very eyes. While it's also at the same time telling you that you should be totally upset about Kanye West and other individuals going to visit Trump in Mar-a-Lago. It's insane. Then you have what's going on here in this country, which is what I like to focus on. And what I focus on is what happens in this country and the people that are running this country, allegedly, speculatively. Because we've seen now today, in my opinion, one of the people that is actually running this country was running around the country yesterday. What do I mean by that? Well, we'll see in the video now as I go on, and I'll show you some of the articles that we've seen, and of course, I'll show you some of the images that we have as well. Brilliant to see Philip Dwyer out tonight at the East Wall protest. The East Wall protest is something that I think is very much so going to be remembered in history as the beginning of what is going to be a massive turn here in Irish history. What I said to you before, and what I keep saying to you, is this: you have technology now that people didn't have in the past. And like I said before, You have incidents that happened in the past, and what I mean by that is incidents that push forward independence and also then let people know what was going on. The 1916 heroes weren't viewed as such at the time, and you have to keep remembering that. Public sentiment was against them until the British overstepped the mark by an awful lot and people started to turn against the British. A lot of people forget that. A lot of people start to remember that though when you say that and say, oh yeah, remember that. A lot of people didn't want them going against them. Now, since then, you have to ask the question, which is, those people gave their lives for our freedom and for our futures. And what would they think when they look at what's going on now? And what you're seeing now, in my opinion, is you're seeing people become more brave. What I've witnessed over the last couple of years is cowardice. I've witnessed cowardice from people that wanted to just go into a shop and put on the face nappy and not say anything and hope that the idiot that was there, that was working as a security guard, that was telling you not to breathe fresh air, that was super duper scared of a common cold, in my opinion, that these people didn't turn around and say, this is ridiculous, collectively. Now, I was looking at Andrew with the second name Tate during the week, and he was saying that he has utter disdain from people. Now, what he means by that is the people that don't think. And he said there's so many people out there that don't think. He says that followed what went on for the last couple of years. He said he has utter disdain for them. And I have to say, when he said it, I was saying, I actually feel the same way. He's like, the people, he says, that are still going on with the current thing. He says these people don't have anything firing in their brain. Nothing going on. There's nothing happening. They are just listening to the current thing and going with the current thing. People that have cheered for your freedoms, your rights, your civil liberties to be taken away from you, haven't even had the ability to apologize to you because they are that stupid. They are that stupid that they do not understand what they advocated for over the last couple of years. This is what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a pandemic, in my opinion, of stupidity, and it's something that has been widely said beforehand. This is what we're getting. And what you're starting to see now is people that are critical thinkers, people that are brave, people that have sat long in silence now are starting to speak up and starting to rev up and say to themselves, we're not having this anymore. And this is exactly what's needed. What's needed is these protests, because what's happening is people are taking it into their own hands. They're not going and doing what TDs are telling them to do, which is hang around outside the door, which has absolutely no effect whatsoever. What they've gone and done is they've gone and went down to the port tunnel, blocked that up, blocked up areas of town, and people start to turn and look. And that's why the government and the regime, for example, are very upset and are panicking about that. Because what happens is more and more people who haven't been thinking over the last couple of years start to stop and look. It's like a car accident. When you're going past a car accident, people look at it and then they look away. We're the people that probably look over and go, wonder what happened over there. And more people are starting to do that. They're starting to go, what happened over there? And they're starting to look at it because it's directly affecting them. Now, again, as I said to you before, I don't understand how people are out there and they are looking at the current situation, which is houses and money being given away for free to people not of this land. Meanwhile, you're struggling to get a place of your own and you're being forced to move out of your own city. You're being forced to move out of your own county. Now, what's happening is over the last couple of months and indeed weeks in particular, the likes of rural Ireland, which I have said it before and I will say it again, this was only going to get going when rural Ireland got going, and it's starting in earnest now. In rural Ireland, they're starting to look at what's going on. They're starting to look at them being replaced. They're starting to look at Cromwell 2.0, and they're saying to themselves, right, that's enough of that. And it's brilliant to see, and I love the energy from rural Ireland. That's what I have to say, and I have to keep saying it. I wish that energy was here in Dublin. 100%. That's one thing that I'll say to you that I'm absolutely 100% jealous of, is the energy in rural Ireland has been fantastic. There's no messing going on there. There's people shutting down all sorts real quickly around there. And of course, as I keep saying, legally, peacefully, and respectfully as well. But what you're going to see in the future is more and more people, and please God, what you will see is people from the likes of rural Ireland that are going to run for elections against the likes of your Helen McEntees. Now, you're seeing the government as well too scrambling at the same time that they're trying to get this mail-in voting going here now in Ireland. They're also floating out, by the way, in the last 2 weeks that they want to have mail-in voting from places around the world. So similar to what happened in Brazil. So someone that's sitting over in Australia, allegedly, speculatively, of course, about to, is going to be able to send in their vote. They have got nothing to do with what you were doing. Unbelievable stuff. Oh, we're going to give them the citizenship stuff. Hang on here for a second. If they decided to go off to another country, that's what they've decided to do. Okay? They can't have any sort of effect on what's going on here, because you remember as well as I do that they had the big push for this home to vote nonsense when they wanted to get through the stuff there with in terms of the marriage. Now again, doesn't make sense to me why people that are not welcome in a certain religion then want to force themselves into it. Doesn't make sense to me. However, when you see that happened, you have to then look at previous ones as well too. You look at the EU membership. You have to look at that and say to yourself, well, what are they talking about next? They're talking about water and they're talking about housing, something that we talked about beforehand. So that's exactly the movements that they're going with. And if you start to talk to people, which you should, and you should be brave, because it's I have to be honest with you, right? And I'll say this quite clearly. I know people that know what's going on, and they're afraid to say it. They're afraid to come forward, and they're afraid to say to people, they're afraid to say to their peers, they're afraid to bring that up. One person that has been absolutely heroic throughout this whole thing is my dad. And I will say that 100%. My dad has been an absolute hero through this, because not only has he gotten what's gone on, he hasn't been afraid, nor has he been shut down when he has said to people how ridiculous the last couple of years have been. And he's bringing her up even now. And that's the type of energy I want to see from everybody. These last 2 years ain't going to be forgotten. And there's certainly people that are running around out there in the government and various other institutions that should absolutely be on trials, massive ones. Biggest of all time, in my opinion, for the last 2 years. And that's exactly what I want to see. That energy is fantastic. He regularly talks to me about how he meets people, talks to them, understands what they've been up to for the last couple of years, and then starts. it's great. I absolutely love it. And I mean, the energy is fantastic, and I love to see it from more people. Now, I see it from people in the chat here, and it's great to see it. And I think the more times that you say it, the better you'll feel. And also, that's what's happening as well, too. People have been so close to saying things in the past, and they just won't. But now they are. And I think it's important. I do it in my own daily life as well too. I don't mind if someone's not an acquaintance or anything like that anymore, or a friend or anything like that. I couldn't care less. The thing is this: there's people out there that are reaching out to me, and I've made good friends on this, in particular, this show, for the last couple of years, and with the videos, that absolutely get what's going on. There's people out there that you would consider blood and are actually blood, maybe even family and maybe even friends that are out there that you would have considered, that you would have went anywhere with them and went to whatever with them. You wouldn't now, because you look at them and go, that person is 100% torn on me. Now, there was another thing that happened during the last 2 weeks, which I thought was very interesting, and maybe some of the chat might illuminate me on this as well. And it said there was a report that was done that said that most people, it said about 50% of people, I should say, so half of the population really, don't have an inner monologue. Now, an inner monologue is when you have a voice say word in your head. Now, obviously, someone would say, oh, you're a nutcase. No, but what I'm saying is, have you ever gone and done something? So, for example, if you're going to, say, build something or whatever, and you say, right, I need to take those screws out, I need to put them there, and you have an inner monologue in your head that talks yourself through that, maybe you should do that. No, I won't do that. Actually, if I do it at that angle, it's going to break it. That sort of stuff. 50% of the population, according to this study, don't have that. And I couldn't understand how these people think, if they do at all. Because I said to myself, how does someone do that? Because I would have to say that I'm fairly cognitively aware, and I would say, okay, that's what I need to do next. And my brain is working in that manner. Now, I don't know if everyone's works like that, but I couldn't believe it when it said 50% of people don't possess that. And I talked about it with a couple of people around me, and they were like, yeah, no, I don't have that. Now, again, I don't know. Maybe it's got to do with something to do with what I've been talking about just there. But all those people seem to fall on the same side of just believing the narrative over the last couple of years. Now, again, as Andrew with the second name Tate does be talking as well about, is that these people have this mentality. These people want to be in chains, and they want to say, you tell me what to do, no problem at all. Again, you look at the inflation situation as well too, where they're talking about the fact that the inflation has gone up to about 15%. They're talking about giving people a 6.5% pay rise. 3%, I think it was, in the pension. You're still losing money. You're still losing money. That's what's important. And you're still getting money taken away from you. So when they're out there cheering on, oh, you got 6.5%. Oh, you got 3%. You're still losing. And how people are sitting there and taking this is beyond me. And that's where the disdain comes from. And that's where the lack of courage comes from as well too, in my opinion. And where the bravery needs to come in and step in and say, hang on here for a second. You've got people out there that are afraid, and this is what they have now. They have people afraid, and when you look at the way that they're talking about people that are in certain circles, you look at what they're saying about people in the media, you look at what they're saying, and I keep bringing her up, about a certain family, okay? And they're talking about them constantly, constantly, constantly. Then you have the revelation, well, I should say speculation, allegation that has been made there by your man Dowdall. There ain't no investigation into that. Why? These are the same media outlets that are like, oh, we should get that family that are over there. Why? What are they doing? They haven't taken my civil rights, my freedom, my liberties, or anything like that at all. Leave them alone. What's the problem? Oh, because they have money. That's your problem. And your issue with them having money is because you are such a person in the government and places like that that want to keep everybody else down, that you don't want someone else there having that money. That's exactly what it's all about. It's not about anything else. It's not about anything else because, like I said to you before, and I keep saying to you, you have, for example, even the police here in Ireland that are refusing to introduce tests, certain tests, by the way. Now, what does that tell you? Now, in my opinion, do I think that they should have to be tested? No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying to you is that they are vehemently against it, which suggests to me that they even know. So, speculatively, allegedly, of course. So, you look at that and say, that's a money thing. And that's what they have people on mostly is to do with money. And they have individualized and they have made people selfish. They've made them entitled. They have made them afraid rather than standing up and speaking out. Like I said to you before, and I'll keep saying to you, there's many jobs that are out there, and I talk to friends of mine and stuff like that, and they say to me, yeah, no, look, I'm afraid of this happening and that happening. And I'd say to them, okay, let's just take, for example, how many people are in the job that you're doing? Oh, there's 10,000. How many people are sitting in the dot? 200 odd. Okay, so there's more of you than there is of them. If you all collectively decided, we ain't doing that, and you better pay us our due, do you know what would happen? That'd be sorted. Instead, what they're doing is they're saying, no, just talking, just take a little bit here and there. You're still losing your finances, your savings are still being taken away, but you're getting that 6.5%. It's gone up to 15% though, so you're losing over half. Yeah, but the 6.5%. Listen, have you not got the fortitude or the intelligence to realize what's going on? You are being drained here in front of everyone's eyes. You look at the Yanks. Look at the Yanks and what they did in the 1700s with the Brits. They put a tax on tea and the Yanks said, no thanks, you're all out. Meanwhile, here in this country, they're telling you that they want to take even more off you with this inheritance tax, while arrogantly waving in your face that they are spending €3 billion on bringing people into this country, and they send out nearly €1 billion in the last year in foreign aid. 4 billion. They're just laughing at people. How are people putting up with it? That's beyond me. Anyway, we'll jump into the show. And what we'll talk about here is the comments next. And as I always say, I know Derek McManus is in there in the chat and fair play to him. If you have a question or if you have a comment, make sure you at Ninja Knight in the chat so that I can get through it quicker. It makes my life and everyone else's life more easy, to be honest with you on that one. Part of a 1014 says Trinono what? Sean Max says good evening. 40 Finn says hello. 40 Finn says even Ninja, even or not. JD says yay is right about listen. What's interesting about the yay thing, and I'll just take a little segue into the yay thing at the moment, and the appearance that he's made on Jones's show. It has been very interesting to see the fallout from that. I watched the video then by the Hodge twins. Now, I like the Hodge twins. I think they're very good and they're very funny guys. But they immediately were like, I can't support Kanye, what he's saying. Well, hang on here for a second. Let's look at the context of what was being said, because that's very important if you want to write down quotes or anything like that, which was done on Twitter pretty much immediately afterwards and in various different articles as well. They decided to put down into articles and on Twitter that they were saying, oh, look at what he said. Listen, our context, what he said is very bad, obviously, okay? But what he was saying was he was talking about a nation state in particular. Then he was talking about creations that were made. Again, people that want to be into this or anything like that, if you're drinking Fanta or you're looking at Volkswagen or you're wearing Calvin Klein or you're wearing Hugo Boss or anything like that, you know where they started. You know where they were founded. You know what's going on there. You know what happened with NASA. You know what happened as well too in Hiroshima and Nagasaki as well too. You got to look at those things and you have to say to yourself, well, hang on here for a second. Let's look at things with a big boy cap on here now and say to ourselves, who's really leading the line? Who's really pulling the strings? And isn't it interesting how they're able to manipulate things? Like, just think about Hiroshima and Nagasaki for a moment. That's over 200,000 people that were taken out on one day. That's not even factoring in the amount of people that went after the fact then as well, due to the likes of radiation. It's not even factoring in that. So when you have one country in particular, one media that's trying to tell you, hey guys, these people are the worst in the world, you got to start looking at what's happening. Because in my view, when you look at what's happening as well, and what I mean by this is, again, I'm not saying I support or any endorsements or anything like that at all, what happened allegedly again in 1935 and 1930s, 1940s Germany. Nobody knows, because that's the point, that is what I'm trying to make. Because when you see what's happening in the blue and yellow country, and the lies that are being told, and the lies that are regularly being told to you now, when you have receipts, you then got to look at history and say to yourself, are you sure about what happened? There doesn't seem to be, and it's something that I seen in Gab, there doesn't seem to be anybody with a tattoo with 7 numerals. That's weird. Is that not weird? How come as well too loads of these people were given amnesty and they spread out throughout the globe, and they also then had high ranking positions elsewhere? That's weird. So there's more questions being asked, and with more questions being asked, you're seeing panic buttons being hit by certain people and certain groups, and I think rightfully so, because I think these people starting to understand that there's very much so a movement that's happening, that's turning and looking, and it's saying to itself, what's going on over there? How come the blue and yellow country is run by a man that has a very particular fate, and how come he's employing the Azov regiment? That doesn't go hand in hand. That seems very, very strange, and it seems very off. So again, like I said to you, more people are looking at that and they're starting to ask questions. And when you're coming back to the Kanye thing, I think obviously the Kanye thing, when he said what he said before the commercial break, you got to look at that and you got to say to yourself, was he joking? Was he trying to get a reaction? Perhaps, maybe so. Was it the wisest of things to say? No, because the optics of the situation is this: everybody has been taught and has been forced to learn about what's happened in those times and look at it a certain way. Now, since then as well, too, and it's something that Kanye talked about, he's like, what about the 20 million babies that are taken out and have been taken out since you've decided to legalize something that is entirely negative? What about that? That's much more than 6 million. Also, what about the 24 million Russians at the time as well, too? You're not going to worry about that. You don't want to talk about that. That's way more than six also. What about the Irish famine as well, too, where there was over 1 million people that obviously didn't make it? So how come everyone is pushed towards one? And it seems strange to me. That's all I'm saying. And what I think is more and more people are starting to poke holes in the stories. They're starting to ask questions. They're starting to say to themselves, hey, hang on here. How come certain people were able to move around the globe, and how come they were facilitated, and what actually went on? Because, as they always say, history is written by the victor. So I think it's interesting what Kanye is doing. And like I said, did I even say it there? I think he's flushing out people as well too within certain movements. Like when I seen the Hodge twins and I was like, I like these guys, let's see what they're saying. And they're like, we like Kanye, we like what he's talking about the music industry, but for him to say that it's all these people, it's totally wrong. I said to myself, hang on here for a sec. If there's anybody that knows anything about the music industry, it's Kanye West. Are you telling me that two dudes that are comedians that sit on YouTube know more about the music industry than Kanye West? You're absolutely wrong. Now, they are right when I'm saying that about the culture and how things are said and how things are done. They are 100% right on that. But when they were like, no, you can't blame all these people, I was saying to myself, well, who was Hollywood ran by? Who were the banks ran by? You know, you got to look at all these things. Who and which country is it that every president so far has kissed up to and goes to a certain place? And other people go to these places too, a certain place with a wall. And how come every time that's been placated? What's the story with that? Again, that's why more and more people are starting to look at it and starting to say to themselves, hang on here, Kanye West has become he's been called a supreme pizza, and you're looking at it going, whoa, hang on here for a second. How come that energy wasn't been made for the likes of Boy Large Mansions or anything? You didn't want to talk about that, but you want to talk about Kanye. And like I said, more and more people are starting to look at it. And something as an aside, obviously, as well, too, is friends of mine, they come to me regularly and they say, the kid is talking about a fella called Andrew with the second name Tate. And I said, have you seen any of the videos? And they're like, no. And they're like, the kid is big into him. And I was like, yeah, that's very good. That's excellent to hear that. Kids are hungry for what's going on. They're hungry for the truth because they're living through things that are being forced upon them. There was a brilliant meme we seen there not too long ago, and they were talking about drag story hour, for example, and they were saying it's been appropriately renamed to men in lingerie wanting to talk to your kids. And I was like, Boom. That's how you go. You talk about it like that. And again, you decipher and you utilize words that are accurate to it. It's exactly what the left do. What the left do is they use a word, you'll see it here tonight, undocumented. What does that mean? That's illegal. That's illegal entrance to a country from which you are not from. But we call it undocumented. So that's illegal trespassing then, no? If I decided to take the passport, put it in the bin, put it in the fire, whatever it is, and take myself over to America, I'd be absolutely refused. And same with Australia. But this country, on the other hand, is like, where are you from? Are you all from Somalia? Is it? Oh, yeah, yeah, you got Nigeria. Yeah, come on, and various other places. As an aside, by the way, our old friend Hazel is out there talking about Ireland and how East Wall is a massive problem. Hazel, is there any chance you may look at what's happening in China? I have videos of that this evening I'll show you here. And the stuff that's going on in China has been interesting to witness from the media. The media are actually reporting on it now. And they're actually saying, guys, the freedoms that people are standing up for in China is very important. Yeah, that's because they're going into year 3 of the sniffles, where outrageous things that are happening over there regularly. But you're the same people that are cheerleading what happened for the last 2 years. Are you hoping that we forget? It's not going to be that way. It's not going to be that way. Anyway, we'll jump into the chat there. Derek Manis says, good evening all. Hope everyone is well. Good to see you here. He says, remember to use Ninja Knight in the chat if you have a question or point to make to Ninja Knight. Much appreciated. Gina Bedow's in here says, evening all. The point man says, heading into Scouter to train around. Have a good one, folks. Oh, man. That takes me back. Scouter so many years. He's absolutely brilliant. He is. I'm actually at the been seeing Damo and Ivor. Have you seen those guys recently as well? Their Facebook page has absolutely been brilliant. It has, and I have to be honest with you, those guys are what I mean. So when I say those guys, that fella that plays them is absolutely wide awake. He is to what's going on. Now I'm just looking here at the chat now, and the chat has gone blank, which is very interesting to see. So have a look. Hang on, try and log in then from another device and see if that's all good. See if the stream is still going and all good. Just give me a second there, guys. Of course, nothing would be ever different with this Gonzo production when you can see it. And so I can still see chats going on, which is good to see. Just give me a moment, guys. I might end up having to go through a different device. Oh, no, it's back. It's back now. On the Fritz for a moment. Fritz being, I suppose, applicable. What do you think, guys, by the way, is about too? Germany that went over to a country, not of their country or anything like that, and they were like, we want to rise these flags with rainbows on them and are covering our mouths because we can't speak about it. They're gone home now, the World Cup. You should have been focused on football, assholes. Oh, stop. It's absolutely brilliant. It's great to see. Wales also gone home. Another one as well, too, that were like, we're going to put the rainbow flag on our corner flags as an act of defiance. Gone home. You should have been more interested in playing football, assholes. That's what you're there for. You're not there for political statements, nor should you be trying to antagonize people in their own country. You know, as I said before, I'll keep it very much so on board when I say Qatar are right to be treating these people the way they are in terms of the people that are trying to come in and put themselves upon the Qatari people with their rules and regulations. This is what these people in these football organizations are trying to do, political movements, instead of just going and playing football. If you'd be more interested in playing football, everything would be cool. Leon Curtis says, good evening, Ninja, and I hope that you're all well. George Story says, hi, Ninja. Good to see you here. You've got Leon Curtis in there as well, too. Finola Morkiv says they're discussing that Balenciaga company. Absolutely. Derek Manis says, protest tomorrow at 1 p.m. O'Connell Bridge, Dublin. I'll be there. Good to see you there. What is that coming up on the screen? Absolute nonsense. Anyway, we'll keep going down through the chat and say hello. Got Balaky Bill in there. Would you go away? You can hear that. Boom, boom, boom. Crosshatch says, had a great convo with a nurse yesterday. I blew my knee out, mate. It's 7 hours, then got told it would be another 7. Washy told me knocked me for 6. Hoax in here says, even and all. Armand says, be there tomorrow. Hope to meet up with you. I was told that it's 18 to 20-year-old attention seeking nonsense, getting peeps turning up for headaches, anxiety, BS. I was gobsmacked. Yeah, you've got a lot of people that are absolutely flipped out on things in the last couple of years. And more people now with mental problems in terms of going and trying to seek help and stuff like that. I talked about it there last week. I did, obviously, in a video. But the more that's emerging from this Jason David Frank story, the sadder it gets. And when you look at it, you got to look at the values that have been placed upon men in this society, and you got to look at what's been done to women in this society. TMZ ran a story they did, and they talked about how Tammy Frank, so this was the wife of Jason David Frank, is to get the lion's share of his fortune, basically something that he's worked for and he's done in his entire life. He's been the face of Power Rangers, in my opinion. And this is a fella that is no longer with us by his own hand since a couple of weeks ago. And nobody seems to be talking. Well, I mean, I'm wrong when I say that, because I'm starting to see it in the fan groups, and the fan groups are starting to look at it and starting to say, hang on here for a second. This fella was about to be divorced by this woman. She was about to get half of whatever he has, which is house, money, the whole lot. She hasn't done anything of note, and it seems like things are stacked against him 100%. And allegedly as well too, he was served divorce papers at a Comic-Con. Now, Comic-Cons were something that this guy absolutely loved to be at. Could you imagine what that man went through when someone came up that pretended to be a fan, again allegedly, speculatively, and said, sign this here, and sign it, and he said, actually, by the way, it's papers, thanks for that one. Can you imagine what that man went through? And that was the end result, because here's what's happening. The Western world, this is why I was talking about this with a couple of weirdos not too long ago as well, about, for example, Qatar. And I'm like, I bet you the crime rate, turning into Jonathan Watts here, the crime rate is low, I bet you, in Qatar. And they were like, well, they take things very seriously. And I was like, yeah, and also as well too, certain people seem to be in control and seem to not be running the show. You know what I'm saying? And seem to not have things stacked against the fellas there. But in the Western world, it is. And that's exactly what happened with this guy. Things were stacked against him, as has been the case for the last number of years. And again, you look at marriage or anything like that. If you're a young guy and you're a prospective individual there and you have a good job or whatever like that, like, marriage is the last thing you should be considering. Now, that's the wrong thing to be thinking, because marriage is supposed to be something that was indeed something that was it was a very important step on your way to the sacrament and continuing life. And now they have totally made it radioactive, that you want to go nowhere near it, because you stand to lose everything as a man. So the message would be this: don't go anywhere near it, because nobody knows. And things are so stacked against you that why would you take the chance? Why would you take the risk? Now, that's the way they want these things to go. And the fact of the matter is that's how it's gone, unfortunately, for Jason David Frank. It was so stacked against him that he was going to be working conventions and it wasn't going to be good news. And that was what's going to be happening with that guy. It's very sad to see. Is that popping up there? It is as well, is it? Hang on just for a second, making sure that's all good. So that's what's happening with that guy. Anyway, we'll move on and we'll talk about what's happening here. So here's an individual that should 100% be in jail, in my opinion, for what she's been up to. And you're starting to see the puppet masters and the people that are on the strings here now in this country. Now, as you know, this weasel over here is wanting to get into a European job. You've also seen as well too, Pascal Donahue has forwarded his membership to try and go for president of the European Commission for Finances. Okay, so again, speculatively, allegedly, could be butchering that one, the thing that he went for. But anyway, he's looking to get into Europe. So is this fella over here, this Monty Bones lookalike here, is trying his best to get into Europe. Now, this is a nation, bear in mind, if you're listening to this from outside of this country and you're not of Ireland or anything like that, this is a nation that fought for hundreds of years to stave off British oppression. And within 100 years, guys like this handed the keys over to the likes of this, handed it over to the Germans and the EU. Now, I remember a banner that says, we serve neither king nor Kaiser, and that is how I feel. And the first thing that should be happening, if a very serious political party made a mount to go towards running this country, that is one of the top things that they should be talking about, getting out of the EU. It's of no benefit to us. It hasn't benefited us in any way. You look at the Irish waters as well too, for our fishermen, not going well whatsoever. You look at then the produce that we have, most of it been sent out of this country. And they're meanwhile telling you that the likes of, the price of meat there in the butchers, they might be going out of business. It's unreal stuff. But then you see a tweet like this, which is entirely revealing. Now, Ursula von der Leyen there has 1.3 million followers on Twitter. Now, that's something that Elon Musk is probably going to correct. Now, obviously, I'm not back on Twitter yet. What I think is happening is he's starting to reinstate the big accounts, and he's starting to reinstate people with millions of followers, then tens of thousands, well, hundreds of thousands of followers, then tens of thousands of followers. I think I had it in around 2,000. So in terms of the list, I am way down in terms of the list. So I don't know when it's going to happen. He hasn't been very transparent with when Everyone's going to get this second chance as such on Twitter. And what's been happening on Twitter, as you can see from an outsider's point of view, has been quite interesting because, like the Balenciaga thing, that trended on Twitter and was talked about in the hundreds of thousands of tweets. That wouldn't have happened beforehand. And what's happening now as well is this. You're starting to see people cop on to what's going on. Twitter has been used over the last number of years to reshape reality, and that's how bad it was. These people have utilized it and they've cultivated it and they've censored, can get the word out. They've censored people with a dissenting view and opinion to reshape reality. Just think about that for a second. This side of the fence is all about free speech, and as I keep saying to you as well too, is I'd rather a goofball be able to say goofy things than meet the point on it and go, look at that goofball over there, look how goofy that is, and you all understand that, right? And everyone gives a thumbs up and says, yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. Happy days. Now, as I keep saying to you as well too, that's why I do certain videos, and I've done videos in the past talking about other channels, and that's why they are very well viewed and very well liked, because then when you look at the views of that other channel isn't pulling in anywhere near the views than I am for original content. If they are resharing certain court cases, that's what they're getting most of their views from anyway. 1.3 million followers, 1,094 likes, has actually added Micheál Martin in this as well too, who possesses over 200,000 followers as far as I know, and still only pulling in 1,094 likes. Elon Musk over the last couple of days has said that he's going to dramatically reduce bot followership. So here's the thing, and here's where I stand. I would rather him get on that and reduce numbers to an appropriate level and to an accurate level of followers of people like this than reinstate me for the moment. Obviously, because, as I said to you before, my game is going to be this. I'm going to be quote tweeting. I'm going to be going, how long is it going to be before I get more likes in this little goofy Gonzo production than a person here that's allegedly in office? You know what I'm saying? Like 1,094 likes. Insane stuff. 312 comments. Most of them probably telling them where to go. Thank you for the great cooperation over the past 2.5 years. Quite eventful years too. In difficult times, you always remain true to our European values. Gorev Mila Mahagut. They're letting you know as to what's going on. The nodding dog over here has been patted on the head here in front of everybody. Look at the optics of that. Now, this isn't Ursula von der Leyen coming in and doing this to Mary Lou McDonald. Now, Mary Lou McDonald, we'll see later on as well too, I don't think is going to be a good leader. And again, I don't think that this fella is a good leader, because you can't have beta soy infused individuals up there as a leader of a country. That's what we've had. We've had this fella over here, and then we've the other fella as well too, who's not even from this country. Half of his ancestry isn't from this land, hasn't got a clue, nor does he represent the large majority of the people here in this country. That's a fact. So you were telling me over the last couple of years we've got people that are totally out of their depth and have no clue what they're doing, but they're absolutely sucking up to this gang here. It's despicable. Like I said to you before, we serve neither king nor Kaiser. It's absolutely disgusting to look at this, and the fact is that they're openly telling you in their face, and this is what something like Andrew with the second name Tay has been talking about over the last couple of days. He's been talking about karmic retribution. Now, if you don't know about that, look into that. And it's something that they are absolutely doing. He said these people support, not these exact people, but certainly people in certain circles support, and we will say very much so, idolize a fella that's red with yellow horns, lives down below, and is a very bad individual. He said all these people, he said, support that guy. And what they have to do is they have to say these things publicly. And that's why you see some of the ridiculous articles that we look at and some of the ridiculous statements that we see, because they have to say these ridiculous things to manufacture consent and to tell you what they are doing, because that is their belief. Quick swig there. But that's where we're at right now. Cooperation over the last 2.5 years. Nothing to do with keeping people safe, which was never about, because we are the third highest rate of cancer in the world here in Ireland. I'm going to say that again. Ireland has the third highest rate of cancer in the world. Why has that not been looked at? If you cared about health, you'd be looking into that. But it's not. So this is exactly what it's all about. It was about cooperation, about getting another job somewhere else. It's absolutely insane. But like I said, 1.3 million followers and is barely cracking 1,000 likes there. Tells you everything you need to know. Now let's have a look at this video. This video is 5 minutes long. I'm going to play it in its entirety, because this video is incredible. And this one talking about rural Ireland. Warlord is starting to understand what's going on, and this is something that's been happening in Dublin. But the people have been too apathetic up until now. And up until East Wall, people have been very apathetic and they haven't cared whatsoever. That's soon about to change. And you're starting to see panic buttons being hit by certain organizations because people are starting to get wise and they're starting to get cranky about it and they're starting to do something about it. Now, I know Romanian friends of mine. Now, again, I'm not supporting or endorsing and indeed disavow anyone that was to do anything like this. But Romanian friends of mine, I'm just talking about cause and effect. Romanian friends of mine were talking about how they wouldn't permit half of what's going on in this place. And I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, well, look at it this way. There's people that are in uniform that would look the other way when the people got together because there was more people than there wasn't people in uniform. And I just said, wow, that's some unbelievable stuff. Now, again, not supporting or endorsing it and disavowing anyone that would go that way. I'm just explaining that that's going to start happening also. That's cause and effect. You've got people that have been living in this country, and this is where it goes from here, by the way. You think that everyone's going to live happily and is going to be, shall we say, handy dandy. You've got people that are Eastern European in this place now, and they don't look at other people the same way. You've got people as well too that are Asian that are in this place, and they don't look at other people the same way. And you've got other people as well too that are heading from the continent of Africa that certainly do not look at people the other way. So you've got issues that are going to brew between them. These people that have come into this place and have been placed there. Now, you've also then got the natives as well too, which is what these people in the likes of the media and in government wanted to go on about and hone in on and harp on about is the natives. You don't seem to understand what's going to happen. Well, maybe you do, and maybe that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to cause divisions. But what you're going to do is you're going to set up serious divisions in the place. So let's have a look. This is Fermoy in County Cork, from what I understand, and this is an eye opener. These people are coming in during the middle of the night, by the way. They're coming in under the cover of darkness. Now, I don't know about you, but when you see operations like this being carried out, and this is an operation, you see operations like this being carried out, and under the cover of darkness, there's no other time that you could do this, and you won't do it during the day because you're hoping that people won't be anywhere near the place in the night. This is where you're seeing way more people starting to come out and starting to film these things, particularly in the night, and they're going to have nowhere to go. I think people are absolutely right to be coming out and recording this because you even have Cathal Crow that's like, we should put it, now it's all for theatre, by the way, just so you know about that, because if there were going to be anybody doing that in serious, they'd be firing bills in about this left, right and centre. They're able to do it over the hate speech nonsense. How come there's no TD that's standing up and saying, right, we're firing a bill in there now to stop all of this stuff going on, and actually we're going to set up a deportation agency that's going to remove people that are undocumented, we'll say. None of them doing it. You look at Ron DeSantis in Florida. You look at Kristi Noem over there as well too in America, and you look at some of the other governors that are there that are like, okay, state level, we're banning TikTok and we're banning other stuff, and I'm like, that's the type of energy that you need over here. But again, it's going to be a very big challenge, and it has to start with the people first, because the government and these organizations are getting very nervous. Look at the response, by the way, and if you want to know if an event is real or not, look at the response, and in particular the Gardaí response to these things. The response to the protest that happened with 10,000 strong that went down on Collins Street with regards to the sniffles was huge. And the response to that from the Gardaí was huge. It was basically like a military operation. It's the same thing here with East Wall. Look at the goofball protest, this raise the roof thing that was on there, with a lot of the people that have advocated and cheered this nonsense on over the last couple of years out there wondering what's happening. Again, these are people that with themselves have an open door policy. So raise the roof for what? Like, what are you talking about? No presence there, though. So the regime don't view them in any sort of serious way. Look at the various other things as well, to the Boyle Large Mansions one as well. Was there a huge presence there? No. Because these things are all sanctioned and are okayed and pressed on by these people to give the optical illusion that they are movements. They are absolutely not. And what is starting to happen now is you're starting to see spontaneous movements happening amongst the people, and that's why it has these people panicked. You see people gathering in Fermoy and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe 70 people turned up here. Awesome. There was 2 counter-protesters. Last I checked, 70 was bigger than 2. Now, I know you goofballs tell me that math is istophobes and stuff like that, but that's the fact. 70 is bigger than 2. And what you're starting to see here now is people starting to record these things, and it's awesome. They've taken a leaf, and I have to say, I have to give a big shout out to him, Phil Dwyer. I think these people have taken a massive leaf out of Philip's book when they are recording these things. because it's insane what's going on. And the fact that people are starting to record what's going on and putting it out there and giving their own commentary, I think is hugely important. Let's have a look.
How can people without identification be vetted? How can people without identification be vetted? There's a lot of, again, black families on this bus, all supposedly from Ukraine. I'm not one who knows what a person looks like or wouldn't even dare to try to say that these people weren't from Ukraine. But you be the judge. Again, I just keep my distance. I don't want to upset anybody. Because there is young kids, babies on this bus. But again, the first bus, there was a lot of men on the bus. There was no way they were all part of the families. Try not to get anyone specifically, but these are all unvetted, every single one of them. All of them easy, just come to the country, can present themselves at any airport they want and come in willy-nilly. Refugees from Ukraine. Supposedly. You tell me. There's a man with it in a rush. Again, as I said, there is a lot of young kids under the bus, so I will not be invading or upsetting anyone, going over talking to any of them. But this is just for yourselves to have a look, so you know what's going on. This is the building here. All done up. I actually myself was a student in the school when it used to be a youth reach. You can see there's bunk beds, there's everything set up. They have Wi-Fi, the whole lot, big huge sitting room set up. Like the best of it, lads. I don't even live in quality that they're getting here. And they're getting it for nothing. So this is the second bus load. And as I said earlier, there's a lot more after tuning in. The owner of this complex, Dan, came out to me. He invited me in. He said, I'm more than welcome to stay. I'm more than welcome to see what's happening. He asked me not to cause a scene, so I'll respect his wishes. But yeah, we have now got 2 full bus loads, bedding down for the night, unvetted. Men, women and children, to be fair. A lot more men than I think anything else though. And again, like Derek was saying, there's 2 preschools at the main entrance and there's no other way to get in. So I was on my way home after doing a bit of work and I stopped off to see what was going on. Anyone, just 1 sec, sorry. I do agree, yeah, local fans struggling to cope, fear of eviction, all the rest of it, and these guys are getting, I'm not even messing, lads. These, as I look in the windows here, they have the best of everything. Couches, fucking, brand new everything. Yeah, it's a bit much. I don't think these guys are from Ukraine, but I don't know. I can't say. You're the ones that are going to have to tell me that. So the second bus load is just fully unloaded and gone inside. I've been given permission to do what I'm doing. And I'm doing it so the people from I know what's going on. I would prefer to be anywhere else but here right now. But this is something I strongly believe in, as we have kids at the main entrance. Both sides, a Montessori and a play school. We have an all-girls school to the left of it. And then we have an all-girls secondary school to the right of it. All unvetted. Again, there's a lot more men here than women and children. Let me guarantee you that. Again, it's just something too close to home for me. My kids, my small child is in the presentation school at the moment. I have friends and family with kids in the preschools. Yeah. All right, lads, I'm going to shoot off. That's 2 bus loads of supposedly Ukrainian refugees after occupying the Loreto Convent building. And who knows what's next. 1 hour beforehand, I was told that these lads were coming in. Or sorry, the manager was told that this bus load was coming in. So when is the next hour. When will he get another hour's notice for the next load of them coming in? So that's well over 100 refugees after coming into the Loreto complex. 2 busloads. Unbelievable.
So there you have it. That's what's going on. And it's great to see people that have decided to take it into their own hands to record what's happening. And I think that's highly important that you do that. But that's happening now in rural Ireland. And like I said before, the going's going to get going when you've got rural Ireland that are stepping up to this thing. And I have to be honest with you, that's the way it's going to have to go. And the more people that are pointing this out, I've seen it across even Facebook now, where you see people that haven't been too interested in what's been going on over the last few years, but are starting to get it. And there's people that are out there that have kind of dipped their toe in it, but now they're fully in. They understand the importance of cash. They understand that they were unable to buy a house. They understand that people that are coming into this country are being given all sorts there. And as that man said in the video as well, people that are coming in with the best of the best, more than he has. And he's saying to himself, what's going on here? And that's all been funded by taxes that you pay. This isn't coming out of the pocket of me, Martin. It's not coming out of the pocket of Mary Lou McDonald. It's not coming out of the pocket of Leo Varadkar. It's coming out of your pocket. Meanwhile, you have future generations that are going to suffer and are not going to own anything. They're being replaced in their own country. You are seeing it right now. They're being replaced in their own country. And nobody seems to be saying to themselves, what's going on? Now, what I mean by that is this. There doesn't seem to be anybody in the Dáil that are saying, we're going to put forward a bill and we're going to halt this now altogether. And that's where it's at. You need to be drawing up a bill and you need to be sending that in there and you need to be making as much fuss about that as possible. And when it is turned away, the likes, I mean, again, I call on him because he's someone that I think that has spoken for the people and he's been quite good over the last few years, Matty McGrath. Matty McGrath is the type of fella that I would like to see a bill floated in there and for him to go up and speak about it, because Grip Media, for example, are going to get the sound bites, they're going to push it out there, and I've seen that their posts and their stories have been getting more traction, which is great to see. And like I said to you before, I think that's fantastic. I think it's fantastic that you're seeing more people more interested in what's actually going on. And you see the low likes and low engagement of the likes of RT and various other news outlets that are out there. And I think that that's very important. So that's why videos like that are important. Here's another brilliant video now. This is Dr. Vincent Carroll. This fella is one of the very few in the medical profession that can actually call himself a medical professional because, well, medical professional, I should say, because he is someone that has stood up for the rights, civil liberties, and freedoms of people here in this country regularly. And this is awesome to see this in this particular meeting to who he says it to. This is beautiful. This is a Sinn Féin meeting, and Mary Lou McDonald is there. Now look at the response that Vincent gets in this video.
A brief comment. 11,000 people of our own citizens, our own people in this dear nation, homeless. That is a complete shame. It's a complete and total shame. But what's also a shame is the unbridled number of people who are economic migrants flooding into our land at the invitation of Sinn Féin. And what is the solution? The building of modular homes, decent homes, warm homes, insulated homes with one improviso. No Irish need apply. This is shameful what's happening to our dear nation. This is the youth plantation of Ireland. The youth plantation of Ireland. And I say to Sinn Féin, you are nothing but a fake opposition party. A fake opposition party in bed with government. Nothing more to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, lady.
Brilliant. I mean, look, he's hitting all of the points that I love to hear. Fake opposition, 100%. Former Fianna Fáiler there, Mary Lou. By the way, guys, did you know that a very serious allegation was made about Mary Lou and Sinn Féin last week? What happened? Well, Jonathan Dowdall, who said to another individual, said that there was money changing hands for votes and other things that went on. Now, I talked about that with a couple of people during the week, and I always like to do it. I like to leave a bit of bait out there and see what people say. So what I said was, did you see that? What do you think? And the first thing people said was, well, like, why would you believe them in any way? And I said, right, okay. Well, she's clean. She's clean. She is, again, speculatively, allegedly, of course. You know what I mean? These things have been said speculatively, allegedly. It's an allegation. We must be clear about that. And again, it might not be true, but again, it may be true. It's possible. Okay? Again, speculatively, allegedly. So I said, right. I said, so what was the end result there? Well, she said that it wasn't true. I was like, okay. So just bear in mind, these two fellas were recorded without their knowledge. And this person just looked at me. I said, just to say that again, they were saying this whilst they knew nothing about the recording that was going on. And again, looked at me. I said, so what does that tell you? Isn't that a very strange statement, at the very least, to make when you know nothing about the recording? What was the result? Well, guys, as we know, the Gardaí started an investigation. They picked up Mary Lou for questioning, for interview, and they decided to say, well, look, we're going to have to look into this. What happened? She just said, no, that didn't happen to the media. That was it. Waved it off, said it wasn't true. This is a woman, by the way, that got the woohoo flu at the beginning of it and spent the last 2 years there saying really nothing. And then was bigging up for Cuba, has the Palestinian flag in her bio, not very interested in the Irish people or anything like that at all. Former Fianna Fáiler, by the way, too. And that was good enough. We live in a banana republic, by the way, if you haven't noticed that already. I don't think this is news to you. If you're listening to this crazy show, you're like, yeah, now we do live in a banana republic. Would that not be the thing that would happen when a very serious allegation like that has been made? Again, it's unfounded. It perhaps is untrue. And again, we have to iron out that. But was there a very serious question or anything like that went on? No, there wasn't at all. What's that person doing? Chairing meetings and doing all sorts of other things. Is that not weird to you? It's weird to me. Because if that was happening, again, like I said, with the media's fervour around certain people, a family beginning with K, how come they're not upset entirely about this? Now, of course, as well, too, with the media darling as well, too, of course, that was Jonathan not too long ago, was now not the media darling anymore. That's a curious turn of events, isn't it? But again, like I said, if this was a very serious country, you would see people being picked up and being questioned and being interviewed about what's going on. But no. No interest there whatsoever. So it says to me that, again, I would err on the side of looking at it and saying to myself, well, that seems very strange to me. Going on what Vincent is saying here as well, too, as you noticed as well, they decided to shut off his microphone as he was talking. So that is, again, the left in a nutshell. They want to silence you. They want you to not be heard. They don't want anybody else sitting there at the meeting who are all just sitting there with their heads forward instead of cheering this man on and saying absolutely 100% agree with what you're saying here. They decided to try and shut him down, and then yeah. Thanks for what you're saying. Yeah, move on there. That's the consistent thing with these people. Instead of actually having an open debate, and that's why panic buttons have been set in with the likes of Twitter. Twitter is allowing people to have conversations, and it is now deciding to let you do that. This is something that has been unheard of before, and that's why I love Gab. And look, I'm not going to say that Twitter is any better than Gab. It absolutely is not. Gab is fantastic. But those type of conversations are being had on Gab. They're not being had on Twitter and haven't been for the last couple of years. It's been quite clearly evidenced as such. To me, what I'm seeing here as well, too, is a real-life version of it. Now, that's no surprise to you or me because you've seen Philip be refused from these meetings recently as well too, because they've played their hands now. You see the hands being shown. I think it was at the Irish Times. Again, we'll have a look at the article now down in a few minutes. I might say it's not the Irish Times. We'll just say it's a different article, okay? There was an article that was done as a potential hit piece on Philip Dwyer and other people that are out there. So the media are starting to point, like where they beforehand, this is what I'm saying to you about optics and the situation we're at right now. They beforehand didn't want to name Philip or Satirical Soldier or Herman Kelly or various others there that are out there, Grant Torino or Dave Cunningham, that have had legitimate concerns and problems with what's going on and have been telling the truth about what's going on. They have now been forced into doing hit pieces on these people. When you look at it, you got to look at it and say to yourself then as well, that there's been some comments that have been floated around about it. Ruth Coppinger's one in particular could prove to be a very costly one for Ruth, and it should be, in my view. But when you look at Vincent here as well, Vincent is showing you what these people are all about. Yeah, thanks, Tom. We're not worried about the Irish. We want to continue on with this sham of a meeting here and pretend like we're going to sort everything out. But not really. We're just more the same. That's all it is. So let's keep going. Cost of living crisis Ireland. I thought it must be a wrong read or something. Rising in energy costs result in butchers closing at a rate of 1 every 3 days. You will eat the bugs. That is the plan. The plan is for you to eat the bugs. They don't want the butchers there. They don't want them having a livelihood, and they don't want you being able to go and select there. And again, when you look at it like this, people might say, well, I don't buy on the butchers at all. I actually buy in the likes of a conglomerate chain. Okay. So if these people shut down and there's no butchers left, that means there's only one game in town and they can charge whatever they want in the future. You know what I'm saying? They're already doing it. You already go into the likes of Tesco as well too, and you see the rise in costs on everything immediately. Your wages ain't being raised to match that, and everything is being risen. Everything. I mean, beforehand, I'm talking to people as well too that are like, I used to go into the shop at €100 and used to get an awful lot for it, and now I'm getting absolutely nothing. And I'm like, yeah. And why are you sitting here and not upset about that? You know what I mean? And these people are like, oh yeah, well, you know yourself. You're going to get steamrolled out of existence. And the longer that you sit there and say and do nothing, the worse it's going to get. Do you think that in 5 and 10 years, these people are just going to give up what they're doing? They're going to keep doing it. They're actively telling you this. They're telling you they do not want you. They are doing it to you in your own communities. They're showing you this constantly. And you've got these businesses that are like, oh, well, like if we throw the line or pass the prices on to the customer ain't going to do that. Instead of you all uniting and saying, right, this is it, we're not having it. Shut down. And then you're going to have problems. This constant cowardice, and this is what I'm saying to you, this is cowardly. 1 in 3 butchers close every day. Why aren't the butchers all together saying, hang on here for a sec, and getting out there? You know what I mean? It's boggling, mind-boggling. It really is. Immigrant Council warns refugee protests will drive wedges of division in communities. These people, they have their arses flapping right now. That's what's going on right now. These people are usually the most mouthiest as well too, about telling you what you are and telling you you're an Istaphobe and all sorts of other things and all sorts of negative things towards people native of this country. These would be the same shitboards, by the way, that would say that the Native Americans are the rightful owners of America. I fully agree with that statement. So when you look at what's going on here, then you're telling me that Kelechi rolling into town is all of a sudden fucking Irish. He's not. You're telling me that this Fabu D idiot that's out there that's telling me that he's a black paddy that's gotten off of a plane from Nigeria that's telling us that he's Irish and he's more of a say about what's going on here in Ireland. You can go and get fucked. That's what you can do. And that's what these people are trying to wave in their face all of the time. This person that's rolled into town is totally Irish. No, they're not. The same way that if I decide to go off to China and say I'm a Chinese person, I am not a fucking Chinese person, no matter how long I'd live in there. And no Chinese person of any salt is going to consider me Chinese. They actually have words for people like that when they go to the likes of Mexico, South America, and in the likes of Asia. What was it that they call people in Japan as a gaijin? It's fucking means foreigner. What's the last samurai about? The last samurai about was about a foreigner coming into the place and everyone looking at him going, I'm not sure about this one, guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the situation that we're in right now. You've got these goofballs that are out there that have been like, they're just as Irish as you. Because they possess a piece of paper, no chance. It's like when you talk to people as well too, friends of mine as well too. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and they had a baby, you know, and they were chatting away, and I said, how's things going? And they're grand, yeah. And one of these dipshits, you know, grand, yeah, we got the birth cert. She's a real person now. I looked at them and I said to them straight, you're some fucking idiot. And they just looked, what? I said, you need a piece of paper to tell you that that's a real person that you're holding in your hands there, that you're calling your daughter. You absolute fucking idiot. And they're looking at me. And I was just like, you're so entrenched in the matrix. You're so entrenched in this system that you've decided to buy into and are collectively buying into like a little hive mind over there, that you don't view your own procreation as a person until some shitboard puts it down on a piece of paper. Are you joking me? Now, it's needless to say, that person fully understood what I was saying and wasn't very happy. And they were like, well, it's just a dumb thing. I was like, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. The person goes a piece of paper. You could write the name down on a piece of paper, you absolute idiot, and you'd still have the same outcome. What a moron. But this is what I'm talking about, the appeal to authority. Well, it has a harp stamp on it. What does that matter? You're calling them by their name since they're born, no? Yeah, but they're a real person now. Oh, you are just far too gone. And that leads on to this one here. Department behind public services card insists it does not track biometric data. Okay, when you see these articles, I usually believe the complete opposite of what these people are saying, because that's why they float out articles like this. Now, again, speculatively, allegedly. So, when you see an article like this and you start to see all of the shenanigans that are happening, I'm like, well, it's a weird statement to make. It's a weird statement to come out with. And usually, and this is just media literacy now as well, too, over the last couple of years, usually you'll see an article like this come out, and about 6 months later, you'll see like a massive scandal. They'd be like, well, actually, guys, this is what we're doing. Like, you had Stephen Donnelly. This is only last year, by the way, guys. Everyone seems to kind of forget this here. But last year, they wanted to track you through your purchases, through your banks, that they wanted to know where you were at. And this is why it's important to use cash, by the way. And also, as well, too, we've seen people say that 100% of the money that you give to a place, once you pay in cash, goes to that place. Whereas I think is it something like 10%, or is it 1%? Anyway, could be mistaken on that. Not really sure on that. I had seen it previously, so just bear with me on that one. A percentage of what you give then. So if you give somewhere €100, a percentage of that's just straight away goes to the bank because you've used the card, right? Now, my old boy is very big on using cash, and he's right about it. And again, the same thing, I'd be very big on it also. So when you see things like this here, it's not out of the realms of possibility, or I should say the realm of possibility, that this is going on. Because on Post have had data breaches that they've told you about. You've got Facebook that regularly has data breaches as well. That's also going on. And you've got then other places that are up to all sorts of other shenanigans as well. And this is what I'm saying to you. You have this going on, a public services card. I just think about this for a moment, right? And I just want to just lay this towards you. You're a private citizen, okay? And these people in the government want to know everything about you. That goes against the word private. Being a private citizen, these people should know next to nothing about you, okay? These people are public servants in the government. You should know everything about them, not the other way around. But this is what's going on. The world is inverse and it's upside down. And they have conned people into giving over information. I mean, Facebook was the biggest con that I've ever seen. And I suppose I was awake to that long before anyone else. When I used to see people inputting their names, their date of births, their families and everything like that, I was, at the time, again, you might say I've been wearing this tinfoil hat crown for a long time. I was like, the people, you were insane. You're absolutely insane to be giving that data over there. And they'd say, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. And since then, there's been massive data breaches. People are getting scam texts and all that, and all sorts of other things are going down. So that's where I'm at when it comes to things like that. Public services card, absolute nonsense. 2023, this is again something that Kate was talking about karmic retribution. These are these people floating this out, by the way, because all of these people in the media as well too haven't once gone against what the government have done for the last 2.5 years. Not once. Haven't said anything about it, are reporting on things that are happening, sudden stuff as well too, and they're like, sudden illness, suddenly you're not connecting any of that at all. Are you doing your job? The media's job should be to tell the truth. It also should be to investigate things. This is why I'm on YouTube, by the way. I'm on YouTube because I've seen a great lack of it. And, someone I grew up with, obviously, through my life, obviously, my mum and dad. And my dad, never forget, we always used to watch particularly Superman movies and TV shows as well too, like Smallville and that as well, and other ones. The Dean Cain Superman as well too was fantastic. I was always captivated with the Dean Cain Superman and Lois. And why is that? It's because he was a reporter. And Superman, his interest was to go and tell the story and accurately tell it. And sometimes the publication wouldn't believe him and be like, oh, listen, I was there. And he would go and hunt down that story. And that's what a reporter, in my opinion, is supposed to do. But what you've seen over the last couple of years is like that meme that's out there of a pen and a slot in it and someone putting a coin in it to tell them what to write. That's not what this is about. And this is why this podcast, I suppose, because this is what I'll be doing going forward. I'll be ripping this onto a podcast and putting it up elsewhere. If you'd like to see that or hear that, that's fantastic. Let me know whether you'd like to see it on Spotify or somewhere else. Let me know in the comments as well. And this is what I'm going to do because there ain't nobody behind me telling me what to say or do. I am doing this because I am looking at the situation and going, these people that are supposed to be given the task of telling people the truth simply are not doing that. They are simply parroting what's going on, and they are not being critical, nor are they criticising any of this stuff. They're just going along with it. And I don't think that's good enough. And again, when you're brought up on the likes of Superman, who was someone that was very much so interested in being an actual reporter, and you see this type of shtick, again, Peter Parker, I suppose, as well, too, being Spider-Man was another one that was interested in telling the story and being accurate about things. You see stuff like this. But this is what I was talking about, and this is what Tape's talking about karmic retribution. These people are talking about this, no problem at all. They are telling you they are in for a shit show next year. Look at this. This is them. The watchdogs are them. That's not you or me. These are people and agencies that are commissioned by the people at the top to tell people. You see, here's the thing with Ireland. The Irish have figured out, and through a very long time, they figured out that if you set up a committee, I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine not too long ago, and they were like, you know, the Irish are great with committees. And I said, they are, yeah. And he was saying, like, here's the thing. If you have one person, that's easy to blame. It's easy to blame that person. So, for example, like the Yanks there now at the moment, they can blame your man there that's running the shop because they go, well, it's all to do with him. But in Ireland is great with committees. They are sly, and this is how the corruption is being used. It's slyly done. We'll set up a committee, we'll name it some sort of funky name. We won't tell you who's in charge, but sometimes we will, and we'll let you know one or two people off it. But ultimately, it's a committee, it's multiple people. So when you have something like this been said, who said it? The watchdog. That's a committee that is, you know, that's multiple people that are saying that there. But you best believe that like it's people above that are like, tell these people it's going to be a shit show next year. And this is where it's going. Like I said to you before, you've people sitting there that have gotten a raise on their money, still losing on inflation, are now been told next year is going to be a shit show, and are still sitting there going, maybe things will get better. It's up to you to tell them, hey, these people are actively telling you it's going to be shit here. They are actively saying that to you. 2023 will be a bad year, and energy prices will get higher, Watchdog warns. This comes from the irishmirror.com or .ie. Irish Fiscal Advisory Council. See what I'm saying? Advisory Council, so a group of people, but the chairman says Sebastian Barnes warned there are a number of factors that could tip the country into a much weaker economic situation. So you're telling people that there's badness on the horizon. Now, in the meantime, what's happened is this, and it's been quite interesting. House prices have started to slowly sort of go down. And you've noticed that as well too with apartments. Now, why has that happened? That has happened because of the recent firings from the likes of Twitter and indeed the tech sector. A lot of people that are coming to this country, indeed, from various places across the globe, have now moved here for that very reason, are now jobless and have to do one of two things. They have to either sell up and go home, or they're going to have to move on to the next thing, which then means there's going to be vacant buildings in the near future. I've said this before. That's exactly what's going to happen. You're building all these high rises, and they're going to become derelict because people aren't going to be living in them anymore. It's going to become like Ballymun. It's going to become very much so like London. There's parts of London as well too where you have these towers that are just being ran by people that are not living in them or anything like that. They're just causing nonsense, and some people squatting in them. I suppose when you say living, I wouldn't consider squatting really living, but you see this then and you say to yourself, that's where it's all going to go. It's going to go wallop at some stage, and there's big problems afoot. Almost 5,000 illegal entrants given permission to remain under a once-in-generation scheme. Now, as you can see as well too, as I keep saying, never anybody that's a 10 out of 10. I would be probably taking the Ali G approach here, and it'd be 10 out of 10s coming into the place, women of course, and everyone else, you need not apply. Come on, out the door. Good luck. Anyway, with the masks on them as well too. It's interesting as well too, by the way. I always look at the images that these places use outdoors with masks on, so you're happy to put that out. Why do they have this here? It shows subservience, and that's what that does. People, my children have a future, so you'll keep voting for the shitheads that are in charge because they understand that the natives have now walked away from them. But 5,000 people that are just given permission to remain, unbelievable stuff. And that is people connected to them. And then you have this birth citizenship stuff that I'm not a fan of whatsoever. I mean, like, you've got Joe over in America that talks about being Irish, right? Keeps talking about it. He's like, I'm Irish. No, you're American. No, I'm Irish. And that's the way people that are coming into this country are going to view themselves forevermore. So those little linkages and those little differences and those little communities are going to keep going. Like, you look at what's happening in America. I'm an African American, I'm an Asian American, I'm an Irish American, I'm an Italian American. Those things all still exist. Like, America, you look at America and say to yourself, that has been the land where they have put various different people over there, and it doesn't, at this moment in time, seem to be working. It just doesn't. You then look at the UK. The UK is in a very bad state. And then you see other places then like Sweden, you see France, and now you're seeing Ireland here now that's been overrun entirely. And this is happening across the place. Now, it's not happening in the likes of Poland. It's not happening in Romania. Why is that? Well, because the people over there ain't taking any nonsense, first and foremost. And second of all, they possess their own language. Like, if we weren't talking in English, this would be a non-event here. If we all spoke Irish, and we now should make more effort to do it, I suppose, and so should everyone else, because it's been a concerted effort over the last number of years to make people dislike Irish, take Irish away from the likes of the Gardaí. They're going to do it with teachers next, 100%, I believe, because they're already floating out that type of talk about too when they're talking about a supply crisis as well. That's all to lay the groundwork to say, well, we should open the floodgates here. That's exactly what's going on there. High-ranking positions on Garda Síochána no longer need Irish. You know what I'm saying? And it'd be the same within government as well too. So because they've been able, and this goes back then to the British invasion of taking away language and culture and all that, has now caused all of these problems going forward. But what's interesting is a lot of my friends, they have their children in Gael schools, and I think that is hugely important, because I think that that's where it's going to go next. I think they're going to try, and they've done it in the media already, to try and attack those places. But what's going on is people are getting wise to the situation and are going, put them in there instead, and they'll grow, in my view. Alleges epilepsy drug prescribed to mother during pregnancy caused them neurological damage. This fella earned, I think, over $1 million anyway on this settlement, from what I understand. And yeah, it wouldn't be like these places to give you something that is going to end up causing problems later on down the line, would it? Biden ready to speak to Putin if he wants to end war. That's because stuff is going off in America. America is very interesting now at the moment because of what's going on and the fact that they're funding this. I mean, the fact is, this guy is standing up there, been telling workers in the last couple of weeks, I'm not giving you any money for 6 days, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll send another $500 million to this place over there in blue and yellow. What? How does that make sense? And Americans are starting to pick up on that, though. And this is why you're starting to see them taking back the house. It's starting to put panic amongst these people. Like, for example, this guy here. Now, again, like I said, the Kanye thing is interesting because it started to out people as well, too, within the Republican Party and people that are allowed advocates for it as to where their allegiances actually lie. And you're just getting more the same. It's the same here in this country. Look at this country and the people that are leading it and are supposedly opposition. Like, you know exactly what's going on there. So anyway, we keep going. But this could have been done months ago. They could have sorted this out. This thing is nearly carrying on a year now at this stage. And it's insurmountable, the pressure that's been put on these people, because, again, look, I think that they're all part of the one big club. And I mean, that's a fact. They're all part of the forum, you know. And these people could have stopped this long ago. And not only that, but some little shithole over beside Russia has now caused everything to be thrown into whack in terms of the likes of inflation and all that. Just one shithole. But what's interesting about that place is that has a high export of lithium. Now, as you and I both know as well too, with these electrical cars that they're trying to push forward, the ultimate thing is this: there's only a finite amount of resource that they can have for lithium and also what they can build. They know this. And the ultimate goal, when they're telling you about prices of charging points going up and stuff like that, the ultimate goal is for you to go nowhere and have no autonomy. I mean, like I said to you before, Stanley Johnson was on GB News, been like, yeah, the plan in the future is not to let people on planes, and that's a national policy. What? How far the horde changes men's brains. An actual study that's been done now, and it's fantastic to see. News are actually talking about this, and they're talking about the importance of men being involved in the lives of their children. Now, that's something that was a theory over the last number of years, and now it's starting to get back to traditional values. Traditional values are starting to make a comeback. People are starting to understand that they were sold a lie with the likes of feminism. People are starting to listen and be more open. All of these events that have happened in the last couple of years have actually fast forwarded us to this position where people are gone, I've been tolerant, but tell you what now, intolerance is making a comeback. I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. And that's what I mean. Like, I just say what I say now, and if people like it, I don't give a shit. You know, but if people don't like it, I also don't give a shit, because I'm just like, well, I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. And if you like it, that's cool. If you don't, well, that's also cool. And that's up to you. And I understand very quickly then if you're someone that I should be putting up with, or if you're someone that I'm like, yeah, no, some talk to, like, look, you know what I mean? So let's have a look at some of these things here. But fathers back on the cards, because this whole thing of single parenting, and particularly giving certain individuals the run of the world over the last few years, hasn't panned out. Citizens information. Do you own a home that no one is using? Local authorities are looking for homes to house people fleeing the war in Ukraine. What? You can book a hotel in Ukraine. What are you talking about? Why would you give them a gaff? You're not giving a gaff to anybody that's of this country. And that's why it's great to see the comments. The comments are absolutely slating these people. Citizens information I'm talking about, and these people at large as well too. Going, what are you talking about? How are people from the likes of Georgia, Albania, and various parts of Africa where there's no war going on, how are they arriving on these shores and telling you that they're after been coming from that place? Absolutely not. No way. But this is the gimmick. Are you going to house? Are you going to house anybody there that's homeless? No. Okay, well then I don't give a shit. No chance. You don't want to look after our own. And again, like I keep saying to people as well too, the very people that are saying to you, oh, you're very welcome. Have you taken any of these people into your home? Oh God, no. Absolutely not. There's Helen McEntee that was mounting over about people taking people in, and then when people were saying, are you taking anyone in? She was like, yeah, I totally am. And then when she was actually asked then later on down the road, she was like, yeah, no, I don't have space. You're Minister for Justice, you own a very large home. You don't have the space. Tell you what, but people are getting to it. It's good. If your home is used, you will get a tax-free payment of €800 a month. Now, we have gone right back to the times of Cromwell and the tithes, as you know, and what they did with people. They bribed people with money, land, and all of these things are coming back again and again. History is repeating itself. You can get nearly €1,000 tax-free to give your gaff over to somebody else, and they're not of this land. No thanks should be the answer there. 100%. And it's great to see the comments that are all saying, nah. Let's keep going. The museum here says this happened. It is a fact, not an opinion. Deniers are not people who have a different opinion. They are lawyers. It seems kind of weird to me that you keep talking about these things and you keep having to tell people that it actually happened. That seems very strange to me. It almost seems like that there's holes been poked in your stories. And it's like this. And I'll be objective, of course, as you always know that I am. I try to be as objective as I can. Obviously, I'll show bias. Now, it's something I talk about with my dad all the time. My dad's like, well, you look at it one way, you do it an awful lot. He likes to look at it both ways, which irks the life out of me, you know. It's something that I think he knows irks the life out of me. And I'm like, stop seeing it from both sides. I'm like, listen, you need to be looking at it one way. But anyway, going on that, I love my daddy's play. But what I'm talking about, and my mother, of course, as well too, you know, I'm very lucky to have had fantastic parents that are absolutely brilliant. So anyway, moving on into this one. When you were telling people that this totally super duper did happen, I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, if there was a group of people, or people in general, that came out and said that the famine didn't happen, I wouldn't give a shit. I really wouldn't. I'd be like, well, you know, the records say otherwise, and there's proof there to suggest, and indeed, say that you were wrong. So that's where I would go with that. But to have this questioning be illegal, and just to put that out there, it's illegal to question this. When I say question, I mean deny it, in 18 countries. Why? Why? Why is that? Okay, is it illegal to deny that the famine happened here in Ireland? No. Is it illegal to deny that that happened anywhere else? No. But this one thing, well, that seems odd to me. It seems very strange. And like I said to you as well too, I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying to you, I don't give a fuck about it anymore, because I'm like, well, you know, you're all telling lies, and you've been telling lies for a very long time. Things don't seem to match up even what's happening now, current day. I'm looking back in history now, and I'm like, there's stuff that doesn't add up there. And there's certain things that have been said and done now that are very, very much so coming to light. How is it that Volkswagen still exists? How is it Calvin Klein still exists? How is it Hugo Boss exists? How is it that Adidas exists? How is it that Fanta exists? How is it that the likes of NASA as well too was headed by people in certain programs? How come is it that when in Germany at the time as well too, they had the potential to use what they used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, didn't use it, and actually then brought it to the Yanks and the Yanks used it? You know what I'm saying? Certain things there don't make sense, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that this didn't happen. What I'm saying is there's things that don't make sense. It also doesn't make sense to me that nobody has 7 numerals on their arm or anything like that. That also doesn't make sense. It also doesn't make sense to me that people that are largely in control of the media, banks, entertainment, all seem to have a similar following and nobody can say shit about it. Meanwhile, the likes of the media and various other places are like, we can totally link in 3-lettered agencies that have been linked together from Ireland to various other places throughout the world. Right, okay. But also as well too, what I can do is I can say, well, look at what's going on here in Ireland. Look at Mike Ryan that's in the WHO. Look at, for example, John F. Kennedy and Joe there, who all both, both of them claim Irish ancestry and have gotten into the positions that they're in with very dubious circumstances there. Like, I can perfectly call that out, and as you should. I mean, that's the thing. These are people that are of Irish descent and they have gotten into where they are, in my opinion, through very dubious means. And I say that about the second fella, very much so. But the first fella as well, there's a whole history program about it that shows you what happened there. But you can totally link that. You can totally link Italians to certain things. You've made multiple movies about them. But you can't seem to link one general people that seem to be in control of some of the most powerful institutions in the world. And they all seem to share the similar thing. And you're like, nah, I shouldn't talk about that. Well, that's why Kanye is doing what he's doing, because he's been told not to say that. And I think it's very interesting. And I think there's a mass awakening happening, because I think that people would have been afraid to point it out beforehand. And you've been told as well too to feel awful about this. I mean, look, this 6 million is nothing to sniff at. But when you look at other things that have happened in the context of history, and you see what's going on today, what about the 20 million people alone in America? And I say people, I mean children as well, that have been unceremoniously taken away through, little buzzword campaigns with slogans and badges and stuff like that. What about the 20 million plus there? You don't talk about it, but you want to talk about this. And here's the thing, and here's the question I always have. How is it that you had so many people, 6 million plus, and they didn't launch any sort of mountable effort against the captors? There was more of them than there was of the captors. That's something I've always thought, and I said to myself, that seems very strange that happened. Now, I know that weaponry is a big factor there, don't get me wrong, but also as well too, when you've overwhelming odds, I think it's very odd. Now, again, you've seen the last couple of years, and people that were happy to comply with nonsense because someone wore a uniform and had a badge, and that's exactly what they wanted to do here in this country. Only this time last year, were they talking about signing in the bill, Higgins signed it in, by the way, that they wanted to abduct you. That's what I'm talking about, abducting you from your home on the suspicion that you had the sniffles. This is true. And they wanted to put you into places like they have now in China, and also then over in Australia. Very like what you're claiming happened here. But none of you seem to be talking about it. It's weird, but you want me to talk about this thing that happened nearly 100 years ago, and you want people to totally give a shit about it when there's actual problems going on today. I don't know about you, but how come you have to keep reminding people about this too? You know what I mean? Also, I just wanted to point this one out as well, because when people look at things like this, and I know the why we say you have to keep looking back. This is coming from last year. John here says, if you are Voldemort and are waiting for the tide of public opinion to turn against these parts, you're going to be waiting a long while. Yeah, we're wrong there, John, weren't you? Politics and media lead public opinion in Ireland with ruthless efficiency. That's just a fact. Not anymore, because the base patriots came out and said, no thanks, the memes won. You have to understand that $1 trillion, €1 trillion enterprise and psyop that happened over the last couple of years was defeated with memes and people doing streams. What a world we live in. You have a little frog that was going around being put into memes, and people were taking the mickey out of what was going for the last couple of years, and that was done. Didn't take that long. People weren't complying with it, and that's important. And these places were losing money hand over fist, and they had to end up doing something about it, and they still lost the businesses. And their view on this is deeply entrenched. Well, they've seemingly shifted their opinions real quick. Mary Lou McDonald denies she used a certain family for money and votes. That's it. No investigation, no questioning, no bringing in, no interview or anything like that. It's just no, that didn't happen. Like I'm saying, it may or may not have happened. If it didn't happen, again, that's why an interview wouldn't be a problem, would it? But we live in a banana republic. Michael Lahan says everyone will be regarded as organ donors. This is a big one, by the way. In my opinion, well, I'm just going to give you my view. I'm opting out of this one as soon as, because these people have displayed something to you over the last couple of years, which is they do not give a jot about you. And they are only interested in parts. And you've seen it as well too in America. You had Jones that used to talk about these things, talking about, and I mean, it's happening in America, by the way, bringing children to full term and then telling them they can stay off. This is happening, by the way, in California. They're looking to do it, coming to full term and been left in the room and been left to go. You know, like even saying that, I tell you what, the blood is boiling. And that's the way these people want to go with these things. And now they're trying to be at you now again when you're no longer on this earth. Like, this is the culture that we're living in now, that these people feel entitled to do this to you. Insane. It's insane. Everyone will be regarded as organ donors unless they opt out of the system under legislation. Minister for Health, Stephen Donnelly. How is he not in jail? Why is Enoch Burke sitting in jail nearly, was it 3 months now? Why is he sitting in jail and Stephen Donnelly's not in jail? Why is Paul Reid still walking free? Why is Neff still walking free? Why are the leaders of this country walking free? Why is that? This is insane. This is insane. This is a very massive reach. It's a power grab here. It's a grab over your body. Where's all the feminists at? It's my body, my choice. Where are all you gremlins? Where are you at now? None of you out there are talking about this on the left. They're all just gone, Now, I guarantee you that if someone here on this side, myself included, and various others start speaking about this, these goofballs will be out there going, see, you don't care about other people. You don't care about life. You're the same goofball that's wearing a repeal t-shirt. Shut up. You don't know what's going on. You're being utilised. You're someone there that doesn't critically think. You're someone that's unable to think. And indeed, if you are able to think and you're abiding by that and supporting that, you're just plain evil. Bring it to cabinet this morning. This is what I'm talking about legislation. This goofball can do goofy things like this and bring it to cabinet. Why is this not being done by TDs within the Dáil? Hey, I tell you what, this place is overrun here now at the moment. Let's stop that. Let's get a stop to that now, real quick. Nah. More interested in a power grab like this one. This is insane, guys, by the way. This is insane. An Irish senior executive with Twitter has secured a temporary High Court injunction preventing the social network and joint from terminating her employment. You know that she has to use the pronouns, lads. This is why the pronouns actually sometimes they're applicable, because you're looking at it and you're going, The order was secured by Sinead McSweeney, who is Twitter's global vice president for public policy. Now, it's not surprised to see this. It's not surprised to see this type of stuff here. And it then actually has to be asked, like I said before, and I showed you, you have, I don't know whether I showed you last week or anyway, it was this week, but you're the European Commissioner that came over here. And it's no surprise to me when you're seeing Van der Leyen come in here, because these things are all, they're all linked. When you see a European Commissioner coming into the place to talk to people high ranking on Twitter, panic is afoot. And I like to see panic amongst these people, because panic amongst these people means that more people are going to find out what's going on. And Elon Musk has talked, I mean, here's the thing. Elon Musk going to have to be super duper careful where he goes and what he eats over the next couple of weeks and months and years. You have to be super careful, because you know what these people are all about. And this is the thing. You're going to see more and more reality coming out. You're going to see, and as he's talking about as well too, bots as well too being taken away from accounts. You're going to see a significant decline amongst a lot of these politicians, by the way. When you have some of the social blade apps that are able to tell you that some of these people have 40, 50, 60% fake followership, the real number is going to come out. Like I said, you have a person there in Ursula that has 1.3 million likes on Twitter, followers, I should say. 1.3 million followers and can't crack over 2,000 likes. That's insane. That is insane. The Rock is another one. Something like 16 million followers on Twitter. He's barely cracking 2,000 likes on tweets over there. It's insane. It's madness. And this is what you're seeing here now. You're seeing these haltings going on. Like, this is some goofball, as you can see here, that's trying to hang on to a job that's no longer required, and panic buttons. And then you're seeing people being flown into the place there where they're telling you to be super duper careful of the sniffles still when you're coming in and out of the country, and it's all over the place. The signs are still up there. And yet these people are flying in and out being like, should meet with the tour people. I wonder what's going on here. Seems to be a lot of people very nervous about that. You got this here. Alejandra says Tim Peel is currently hosting a blatantly stream on YouTube with these guys, and they are all discussing how these control everything. Why is YouTube hosting this? Now, this is a classic tactic of the left, by the way. It's like, we don't like open debate and discussion, so we just want to shut it down. Why not listen to it and say, well, maybe they make a very valid point there. Maybe they don't. And that's why, like, this is the difference between us and you. I would rather you say your goofy things and have your goofball videos, which don't do very well in views. Look at News Talk, for example, as well. Did you know they're owned by a company, I think is called Bauer? That's German, by the way. A German company actually owns News Talk, just so you know. Have a look into that one. And that's from a German dynasty, by the way. You have a look. Seriously, might do a video at some stage. I looked into it and I was like, click, 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 click. Wikipedia has it all there. And you looked at the dynasty that's there that owns that. It's insane. Anyway, moving on. These people are all about this. Instead of saying, okay, well, these people are existing over there, what's happening is there's a high amount of views that are happening with these type of streams, and panic buttons are being hit because they're like, oh shit, people are talking about things that we don't like. That's why the likes of Rumble and Odysee as well too have been successful and are very good, because they're openly hosting videos like this. And again, here's the thing, people can be wrong. People have been wrong about the sniffles over the last 2 years consistently, but they're still being put up on the platform. You've got Luke O'Neill that's still been rolled out there, been telling you what's going on over the last 2 years, and is continually to dictate to you how things can and should go. This fella's been wrong repeatedly. How come he's still been platformed? Here's the thing. I'm all for that, because I'd like to see the dipshit keep saying dipshit things, and I'm like, hey, look at that, look at this guy, he keeps being wrong, and look at that platform that's over there that keeps hosting them, and that's hilarious, that is, guys. That's the thing, because I hope that they keep coming out and saying stupid and silly things, because the more that they do that, the more absurd it is. These people, on the other hand, are like, shut it down because it might upset us. And the reason why it upsets us is because a lot of times they're speaking truth and they're speaking about things that people will talk about themselves. That's what these people are. This is awesome. We've got this guy, Qatar. He says, don't leave your flags behind. 179,000 likes. I love it. I love it. The German team out, gone. Absolutely awesome. Let's have a look now and keep going with this. We've got Satirical Soldier in here as well too. We've got one of his main thoughts and stuff for this. Let's have a look at this next one here. GAA reject Mayo's application to wear rainbow numbers in support. So if you didn't like Mayo before, they've given you another reason to dislike them. In support of the alphabet community, as they see playing gear as sacrosanct. Now here's the thing, and this is the interesting crossroads we're at, by the way, guys. Because the left want to play this game, let's play this game. You've got diversity and inclusion coaches. You have had the Croke Park, and this is where you got to look at these things, by the way. You've had Croke Park that opened on 2 years on the bounce there during the biggest case of sniffles that you'll ever meet. And of course, you were to be super duper scared about it, but they could open Croke Park for that. For a religion that is allegedly very, very peaceful. Now, think about that. So, you've decided to hand over diversity and inclusion roles to these people. You've decided to open your main stadium to these people. Are you going to go with this? No. No's the answer to that. And that's where the conflict is at. Now, here's the thing. I don't believe that politics or any of this sort of nonsense should be included in the GAA whatsoever. Now, the GAA is in serious trouble because it has allowed one team as well, the Gail Erica, was that the one I did the video on not too long ago, that had to do with playing in a ladies team. So this stuff is already happening. This sort of nonsense is going on. And it's going to come to a point in time where they will allow this, I think. I would say so. And what they are going to do is they're going to find big problems then, because you're going to have people that they've welcomed in as diversity and inclusion coaches that are going to have serious issues with this. And it's interesting to watch. And sometimes, like, I recently watched that Black Adam movie and it's absolutely shit. But, I know what I mean, again, allegedly, speculatively, I didn't go to the cinema to see it anyway. So, there's one scene in it, and Black Adam and, again, spoiler alert, and Hawkman are fighting, and Pierce Brosnan plays Dr. Fate, and he's literally sitting in a chair, and he's just looking at it, and I'm like, that's going to be us. It's what you're seeing at the minute. You're seeing what happened with Sligo. They don't want to talk about Sligo. The alphabet community don't talk about Sligo, and the other community then are just like, didn't happen, and that's normal. It's normal. That happened in Qatar. It's happening in the Middle East, and you look at what's going on in Afghanistan. They don't want to talk about that at all. So this is going to be interesting, and we're going to be Dr. Fate at this stage of the game. We're going to be sitting there looking in and going to go, interesting to see how this one pans out. My money would be on the other gang, though. It wouldn't be on you. So, interesting to see. Mayo, I would say, you probably could swap the G in for N there and call them Gayo. Listen, maybe I'm the first one to coin that term, am I? And that's going to be an interesting one to see going forward, because I don't think people are going to forget that. And they're going to keep going with this, because it's all a push. Now, it doesn't surprise me from Mayo. Mayo, if you're listening into this and you're from Mayo, listen, the greatest of respect, they're probably a decent head, but that county... Yeah, GAA team just make it super unlikable. I'm just letting you know. And this is another reason why they're going to make it super unlikable, to try and force this stuff into the GAA. Now, it's coming, and a long time it's coming now at this stage, but what's happening in Ireland is it's going to be pushed away real quick now, because the writing's on the wall for a lot of these things, and it's going away big time. I am looking forward, I have to be honest with you, most years in the last few years, I've not dreaded isn't the right word, but certainly been disgusted by the month of June. I think I'm looking forward to next June, because this stuff isn't going to be panning out the way these people think it's going to pan out. There's no support there anymore. And I'm not talking about real people. And this is what I'm talking about. The real people that are involved in this community, and when I say this community, real people aren't involved in this community. They've no interest in it. They just do what they're doing. They're legally consenting adults. They do what they do behind closed doors, and that's it. I couldn't give a shit what you do. I really don't. But the group that want to go out and wreck people's heads for the guts of a month, that's a different story. And these people, and again, as I said to you before, people that are allegedly within the community have no hand nor part in these things at all, and are distancing themselves from it, which is great to see. And also, like I said, fully support and endorse that. Separate yourself from this group here, and you'll start to understand what's going on. You'll see the gremlins that are running around it, and you will understand very quickly as to what's happening. A lot of those people that are in there in this community, and when I say this community, I'm not talking about the real people, talking about the people that want to run around LARPing and stuff like that. These are people that are not going to procreate and are very much so interested in making sure procreation doesn't come to full term. You know what I mean? So again, it's stacked against you. This is an interesting meme here as well. Obviously, it's not so much a meme, but very much so the truth as to what went on there. You know, flu, that's a conspiracy theory, guys. I hope you know that. You got the Satirical Soldier here that says, we aren't doing enough to help refugees. How many are living with you? Fair play to Satirical Soldier. That's awesome, Dennis. That's brilliant stuff. The videos he's been putting up lately as well, too, very, very solid. We've got Elon Musk here, and it says, removing child stuff is priority number one. Again, the fact that I have to dance around that, just to put that out there, and you might be asking, Ninja, why are you dancing around that? Platforms like this are, you know yourself. They're very unhappy when you decide to call people out for what they're doing. You know what I mean? And when I say that, I'm talking about things that Elon is talking about here. And that's why the cleanup. And again, you're saying some of the celebrities that are running away from Twitter. It's interesting how none of them said anything about Balenciaga, but they're very unhappy about what Elon is doing. Birds of a feather, you know. Please reply in comments if you see anything that Twitter needs to address. 146.4 thousand likes. Apple has also threatened to withhold Twitter from its App Store, but won't tell us why. Now, this stuff was all over this platform. Now, thankfully, I had never witnessed it or anything like that, but I heard a lot of people that used to openly talk about what was going on in this platform, because it either come across their timeline or they just knew about it. He's cleaning this stuff up now real quick. And like I said before, a lot of Andy Tifa accounts are being wiped. You know. Anyway, this is a tweet now that should prove to be very costly. I would say, allegedly, speculatively, for Ruth Coppinger. This is insane. This is insanity, and this is coming from the Times.co.uk. So this is a foreign news article here that is deciding to talk about Irish people. It's good. This is the thing. Philip said it earlier on the stream as well. He said it's great promotion. It absolutely is. You see, what's happened is people on our side of the fence have started to realise that promotion like this is good, because what it's doing is it's letting people in on the discussion, and Philip is going to get more subscribers, he's going to get more likes, and he's going to get more people tuning into the streams and tuning into the videos. That's all that's going to happen from this. This is the thing. This is the Streisand effect here every single time. If you tell me not to like this person, I'm like, well, what's that person saying? And I'll make my own opinion. When you were telling me that I don't like or shouldn't like this person, and I should like this person, every single time I'm like, that's definitely a person I shouldn't like. You know what I'm saying? So probably explained that very poorly. I probably should have said people that they're telling you not to like, you should probably like, and people that they're telling you to like, you should probably not like. Look at the way that they talked about Matt Hancock, by the way. Felt that went on to I'm Sorry to Get Me Out here. And they eliminated, isn't it interesting? They eliminated in the first couple of vote offs his biggest critics on the show. That's not a mistake. There's still people on Twitter that are like, Matt actually did very well. And I actually will vote for him. You know, I hope he's going to be king of the jungle. I'd be like, what? What are you talking about? You couldn't go to your own family's funeral. You couldn't have a wedding. You couldn't do anything. And that guy was out there smooching some board. Must be joking. But anyway, looking at this tweet here, and she then follows it up then by saying that she means everybody within the article. So, I mean, there's massive litigation on the way, I would imagine, for Ruth Coppinger with regards to this one. This is I'll tell you what, lads, this is a bad tweet that she's made here. Very costly it could provide to be, or prove to be, I should say. Stepping up on the words here. Turning into Joe. Anyway, there's very serious allegations being made here now, and this is the thing. What you're starting to see now is you've got people on their side of the fence that are not taking this anymore. I'm starting to see in America much more so, where statements like this are being made. This is actually putting people like Philip here, for example, here. This is putting him under a direct threat, and this is, in my opinion, this is inferring a threat upon him. And again, you're seeing people in America that are taking people like this here, that are making statements like this here to the cleaners. Good to see media exposing these figures and what they stand for, but they're not right-wing activists. They're far right, which means what? What does that mean? Oh, it means super duper authoritarian and into the government. That's not what happened over the last couple of years. You were the people that were interested in that. What are you talking about? These people have all been campaigning for medical freedom and for people not to be discriminated against and segregated. What are you talking about when you're talking about that there? See, these people use the words, and this is something that I think even Yuri Bezmenov and others have said in the past, that they will use words like these to try and attack people and attack their character, so that people will try and stay away from them. Instead, when you see words like this being attributed to people, I remember as well too, even with the Stephen's Green protest, when they attributed that to little old women and young girls and young boys and men and old men and stuff like that. Like, that was a real eye-opener, I'm sure, for a lot of people that were like, what? And not only that, then, you also had people of other races and other creeds that attended those protests. So, interesting, isn't it? Promoting ist and these things, hatred, and literally espousing this stuff here. This is dangerous stuff that's been posted out here. Now, Ruth as well has, from what I understand, a person that has been in support of her that smashed Stephen Kerr's phone, allegedly, from what I understand, has been charged now. At the very least, an official complaint's been made about that guy. So we'll see how that goes there. But again, that's second-hand information, so I'm not sure if that's accurate. But certainly, if you were any of the guys here, in particular Philip as well too, I think you'd have a massive case in your hand here. I think you would absolutely have it here, and particularly with the follow-up tweet as well too, that she actually confirms that's who she's talking about, everybody in this article. Like, I mean, this is something that Satirical Soldier put up as well too. Like, not only are these things widely defamatory and out there, this one here now is absolutely entirely wrong here, and that's way out of bounds. Like, I'm all for people having the ability to debate and all that, but you're not getting it with these goofballs like this one over here. You know what I mean? Like, this is outrageous, and that is something that they should very seriously look into. And you would hope that there's going to be someone that will look into that very seriously. And again, I think you would see an awful lot of this sort of stuff stop if someone was made an example of. And that's what they're all mad for. And this is the thing, you know, these people are all for making examples of people and trying to take away people's livelihoods and trying to hit them in the pocket and stuff like that. And that's what they've done over the last number of years, this cancel culture stuff as well too. And they have brought this sort of talk and thinking upon themselves. This is outrageous stuff. It absolutely is. This is absolutely unbelievable. This is a person, by the way, when they're talking about this here, alleging everyone in this of being a this, which is entirely wrong in my opinion. This is a person that's out there that's up for the likes of the repeal stuff. Like, the thinking is the lack of thinking, I should say, is unreal. Not once have I heard Philip or anybody else espousing any sort of stuff like that. Not once. This is a guy that's interested in having future generations be comfortable, be happy, and be safe in their own country. Like, if anything, people like Philip have been very happy to say, tell you what, guys, we'll pay for your way home and off you go and good luck to you. Nothing like this. But people like this then are promoting this amongst children. Just to put that out there. So, this is what you're seeing. You're seeing a foreign media outlet that's reporting on this. These activists who flock to East Wall protests and fuel misinformation. So you know that the opposite is actually happening there. And isn't it interesting that a foreign entity is deciding to report on this? Now, again, like I said, it's only going to increase views. Now, I'd say that the likes of this here, because it's a UK outlet, probably picked up on the likes of Anything Goes. Anything Goes has posted a couple of Phillips things beforehand, and other people then as well too. But it's interesting to see, obviously, as well too. Jones has posted out some of the Phillips stuff, which is great to see. It's absolutely awesome. And this is what's going on. When we're talking about misinformation, like Philip said long ago as well too about the sniffles and it being all good and all that. And again, proved to be right. You know, I seen a meme there the other day. I shared it. The Spartans there from 300 going into our second winter of illness and death. Remember Joe said that last year. So everyone that's saying that you're fueling misinformation, that's a buzzword that they'd like to use as well too for guys, you're telling the truth. Now this came out today. I'm going to show you this buckaroo here. This came out as well. Now obviously, as you can see with this symbol here, this is quite clearly what you know it to be. There's no two ways about that. I mean, this is coming from the APEC CEO Summit in Thailand 2022. There's Klaus as well too. Unconfirmed reports at the moment that this fella has suffered 2 heart-related issues and may no longer be functioning. So, you know, the Emperor from Star Wars. I can't say much more than that. I mean, look at it. You know what I mean? It's insane. It's very clearly there, as you can see in the green in particular there. You can see what it's doing. You can see the way it's marked out. You know what that is as much as I do. That's as clear as it gets for anybody. And there's multiple images out there of this. This isn't something that's doctored or been created by people or anything like that out there. This is true. This is up there. This was trending on Twitter earlier on. I think got something like 800,000 tweets. Images like this. And they're like, guys, they're doing the stuff out in the open in front of your eyes. We know. Sunday World says guilty plea. Now, this is what the media have done recently, which is they're telling people that are from certain counties. Mayo man, Tipperary man, you know, gang from Cavan, you know, not that Cavan has any gangs or anything like that, but soon will with the way they're going about things. But this is what they do. Dublin man caught with this stuff after Gardaí intercept. This avoids jail. You know, so Enoch Burke sitting in jail for refusing to call someone by an incorrect pronoun, and you know the left likes to go and say, well, he was actually harassing. He was harassing the principal. Now we publicly questioning her, which last I looked at, that's actually legal to do that here in this country, and you're able to hold grievances and say things to people in public, no problem at all. And he was standing by what he was standing for, and also what the school was supposed to be for, which was a Christian ethos. This guy avoids jail. How? Now this comes on the back of what I talked about last week about a gang that were trafficking, and not only that, then in particular children for certain means. The judge said while the offence was not a victimless crime, Joel Devante is, of course, a very much so local name. 56 offending was at the lower end of the scale. You know, here's the thing. You know, people that are in certain circles, people that are being viewed as very negative individuals by the media, I don't have to say to you what those people would say or do, you know. And these are people that are looked down upon by the likes of the government, they're looked down upon by the media. But those people have a moral code, and that's why they have separate prisons for these people. And I say people, like Joel there, I use that term exceedingly lightly. You know, and again, just because you have to say it, and again, because it's true, my aim at this is this. If you were Irish and you're engaging in that sort of stuff, you should also be facing the maximum sentence, at the very least, life, in my opinion. Never mind bringing other people unvetted into the country that are going to go up to all sorts as well, also. And this is what Philip, Derek Bloig, Herman Kelly, various other people that are out there, Satirical Soldier, have been saying. They're saying, hang on here for a sec. We're all for legal, vetted immigration, particularly if someone has skills that we don't possess here in this country. But if you're unskilled, we don't really need you. We don't see the point, because we have plenty of teenagers that are here that are looking for work, and that's what they would fill for the time. And we also then don't want people coming into this country unvetted because of situations like that, and situations that have happened in Sligo. You see, here's the thing. You've got Philip and various others that are out there that were some of the very first people, including Satirical Soldier, that stood up and spoke out about what happened in Sligo. The incident that happened in Sligo, or the incident that happened to Aisling Murphy, wouldn't have happened had those people been properly vetted come into the country, or had been refused from the country. And the same thing with this guy. How does that guy avoid jail? And Enoch Burke is sitting in jail. What a clown world that we live in. Let's have a look at China. Now again, these are people and videos that are getting out there, and funnily enough, Hazel doesn't seem to be saying anything about this. That's weird. So let's have a look. Obviously, I'll take off the sound because they're playing music. This is what they're doing. Locking doors, and massive protests erupted after they had actually welded people into an apartment block, and the apartment went on fire, and 10 people no longer there. There's other people as well too that are hopping out of windows, and some other out there stuff is going on. Like, this is mad. It's absolutely insane what you're seeing here in this country. And you've seen protests that have erupted that are saying, there's the fire, that was the fire there, hang on, I'll get back onto that there. Obviously I don't read Chinese or anything like that. There's the fire. These people were locked in there. And there's people down the street that are like, we don't want the CCP here anymore, we want your man to resign. And now they're pushing down barriers and stuff like that. And you have to question some of it as well too, because anything that comes out of China, by and large, is not coming out of there without the government say so. You know what I mean? So I had to question some of it. But this ludicrousness is going on 3 years in, and this is what I'm talking about, people with the appeal to authority and badges and all this sort of stuff that jump in on this, no problem. These are human rights abuses happening last week, Not a word about it in the media. We are taking you for your own health. By the way, these lads kicked lumps as well too out of the BBC reporter. So they're over there in Qatar, by the way, and they're reporting on, oh my God, I can't believe they won't put up the likes of the rainbow flag. One of your guys was booting around the place he was there in China, and you put out a statement that was like, we don't know what happened to him, and he got picked up. They said that was to protect him from the flu, but he got better around. He did in the jail cell. We totally stand against this, and that's it. Nothing else. This is over the sniffles, lads. This is what the governments around the world wanted to do to you. Let's have a look at another one here. There's another one. That last video was very shrill. If you matter blowing out your earphones or whatever like that, or your speakers, I do apologize. Probably should have given you a forewarning about it. But this is also what's happening as well. People have had enough. They're starting to break things down. Interesting times ahead for China. So that's what's happening in China. And not only is this happening in China, you're also seeing many people out on the streets of Brazil that are unhappy with what's happening there. Irish Inquiry posted this here. This is awesome to see. This is Simon Coveney being asked. This is a fella now that will stand up and talk about absolute nonsense, he will, in the Dáil and various other places, and tell you what we should and shouldn't be doing. And yeah, one journalist, very brave journalist, of course, there, Stephen Kerr, is asking questions, and doesn't want to know, hasn't got the gall, hasn't got the courage to stand and speak with Stephen. They all seem to scatter away. And this is what I'm talking about, leadership here in this country. You are not seeing anybody with bravery in terms of people there within these offices, because they all just scarper away. And isn't it mad that they have psychologically done that to people where, I'll even talk about it with my own family and talk about it with my dad. And I'd say, well, I'm looking forward to the elections coming around because I'll tell them what I think at the door. And he's just saying to me, and he's right, like, he's not wrong what he said. He's like, they'll just turn on their heels and walk away from you. And I said, yeah. But like, think about the fact that that's what they're doing and they're allowed to do that. And they just go, I'm not talking to you, and they go away then. Instead of actually listening to your concerns and dealing with it and debating with you on why are they part of the forum, why are they welcoming the likes of Ursula von der Leyen and various other people over the last few years, why are they segregating and discriminating against people here in Ireland, why are they introducing passports that clearly didn't work for something that was clearly not that serious, in my opinion. And not only that, then how come they're not calling for widespread sanctions against China? Doesn't make sense.
This is Simon Coveney, Minister for Foreign Affairs and an extremely receptive man.
Going to flood the country with immigrants to be now.
My rule of thumb is that over the next 20 to 30 years, effectively we want to attempt to double the size of all of the cities in population terms outside of Dublin.
How do you say about the 3,200 people that have entered the country this year with no documents? They've got on a plane with documents and they get off the plane with no documents.
Most of them are claiming asylum. We have a legal obligation to go
It's
through
illegal activity, surely, if you get on a plane with documents and then you get off the plane with no documents.
If you claim asylum in a country, the country has a legal obligation to go through an asylum process.
Do you endorse Klaus Schwab's plans for a great reset? In that everyone will learn nothing and be happy?
You know nothing and be happy. I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't know? Do you know Klaus Schwab? You don't know Klaus Schwab?
Here is Simon Coveney's profile featured on Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum website.
So there you go. That's the only thing about the Irish Inquiry. They put in and I like it, don't get me wrong, I like it that they put in the music and stuff like that, but it's brutal for when you're coming onto a platform talking about it, because these places are like, you played 10 seconds of a tune there, and you're like, yeah, so are we not promoting the tune? Are we not promoting the artist? I'm not supposed to help them. Anyway, there you go. Doesn't know him, but in the form. Lois just openly been told there, so that's what you're getting there with this guy. And of course then ran away, of course, from Stephen when legitimate questions are being asked. Here you've got this fella as well too. This is the Emperor from Star Wars,
COVID-19 also helped legitimize instruments of control.
So there you go. It's out in the open now, and this is what they do. They do it out in the open. Colombian midfielder Andres Balanta passes after training session, age 22. Totally normal, of course. A man remanded in custody after appearing in Longford court, charged in connection to this. An African, I'm talking about traffic. An African man has been remanded in custody after appearing in court, charged in connection to traffic. 36-year-old Lucky Inogahezi. So that's where he's at now. He's in custody now. Good to see. This one's outrageous, lads, because anytime I see the urinal saying something, and like I said to you before, I tend to believe the opposite of what these people say. Carniford, decided majority welcomes displaced people, says some goofball with that sign. Debunked, there isn't a secret UN army in Louth. The refugees in Carniford are from Ukraine. Everything that you people have said over the last number of years has been absolutely wrong, and you've supported the wrong cause every single time. Doubt guys on this one, to be quite honest with you. Fleetwood Mac star Christine McVie passes age 79 following a short illness. Of course, totally normal. That's happening as well too. We've got this. We've got that there as well. No medical risk for children receiving Voldemort blood, experts. And as I quoted up here, it comes as Health New Zealand. This is insane. This story is absolutely insane. Because what I did was I clicked in and I said, I'll have a look through it because it's not in the title. And it said this in the article. It comes as Health New Zealand attempts to gain guardianship over a 4-month-old baby whose parents are not allowing a planned heart surgery to go ahead if the donated blood needed in the surgery is from someone who has had the Voldemort. This is insane. They are doing it with your body after you've gone, and they are now trying to claim ownership over a 4-month-old baby. This is seriously unreal, lads, and the fact that this isn't widespread news says an awful lot to me. And the fact that they're going no medical risk, that's definitely a lie. And I've heard more people now that have been like, I want the Voldemort and stuff there. I don't want anyone to do it. Why do you think there's such a big drive, by the way, for them to get people to come forward? They've now actually made it more lax. You said that people now that are in same relationships, you know yourself, can now donate blood far faster than they have done beforehand. What's that about? You know what I mean? So anyway, looking at this here, the New Zealand government, Health New Zealand, think they have guardianship and are going to attempt it over a 4-month-old baby. This should be worldwide news. This is a massive overstep here, and the parents are right. This is unreal. Absolutely outrageous stuff. Ireland doesn't need any more semi-detached houses, Ciara Kelly. Ireland doesn't need to build any more semi-detached houses. News Talk breakfast presenter Ciara Kelly has said she should shut the fuck up. Anyway, that's my spoke on that one. Dublin TD calls for cap on Ukrainian refugees. The capacity has been exceeded. Dublin TDs don't have any interest in the people of Ireland. 3% of the declared population is now Ukrainian. So Carl Crow City is hugely proud of the work being done in Clare, where he said that the population is now 3% Ukrainians. You know, shops and cafes across Ireland could be forced by law to accept cash payments. Shops and cafes could be forced by law to accept cash payments short of new rules for banks. Interesting to see on that one there. That's fairly fascinating. Dublin Port blockade will continue 3 nights a week, says protesters against the asylum seeker housing plan. This comes from Irish Times. Deposit return scheme. Here's how it will all work. All eligible containers will display a return logo from February 2024. I said the Germans do this, and in the article it says he said prices on drinks will likely go up to reflect the money people will get back, which will have 2 rates. So this is what they do in Germany, by the way. They charge you extra for a bottle and for a can. They call it is a P fund, and you basically bring the back and you'll get the money back. But the thing is, a lot of people don't do that, and so you're going to lose money. And what I noted as well too the last time I was in Germany was that a lot of homeless go around with shopping trolley full of cans and bottles, and they're able to get the money back then and use it then for whatever means. So interesting there. EU Commissioner meets Twitter representatives in Dublin. Why? The panic is palpable and shows that Ireland is a pawn, is what I said here. European Commissioner for Justice Didier Reynders has met representatives from Twitter in Dublin amid concerns the staff departures will impact the company's ability, and this is to follow EU law. These people are super duper panicked as well too about, these are all talking about hate speech. They're super duper panicked about people telling the truth. That's what it's all about. You've got this guy as well too that's talking. He has some fascinating stuff. I'm just going to keep scrolling through it. Windows of former school smashed an overnight attack. Local councillors condemned the attack. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to shove people into this school that used to house students, but now what they're trying to do is they're trying to put people various different places into there. Government to hold referendums on housing and water. Rigged outcomes, I reckon, on the way. Potentially speculatively, allegedly. The Taoiseach has told us all that the government intends holding referendums on housing and water. I see people all the time, and they're like, we shouldn't have a referendum on that. And I'm like, no, you should just say no to it. And absolutely not. Bargaining and reasoning with these people is not an option. Saying to them that you're going to give them the ability to take power over things which they shouldn't have power over, which they are definitely going to take, because these things are definitely sorted beforehand. I mean, you've just seen it in America multiple times. You've seen it in France. You're starting to see it across the world, and you're seeing it here now. You're telling me that you're going to get a fair one on this? Doubt it. Highly doubt it. All middle-aged women should try this sport. It is my new therapy. I said Irish media keep using non-Irish stock images. So as you can see there, there's 2 ladies there. One, very, very attractive. It's unusual that they use attractive people in these things, but attractive here. Not great here on this side. But it's weird, isn't it, how they keep using people that are not of this land as the models for these things. Dublin Mayor signed twinning agreement with Ukrainian capital. Absolute clown world. A move 4 times in 6 months, how the housing crisis is taking its toll on generation rent. Abel Krautner, of course, as you know, Irish name. Gardaí make arrest in human traffic probe. That's happening in Westmeath as well. As a part of ongoing investigations into traffic and related criminal activity, Gardaí and Mullingar conducted a search and arrest operation. As I said, this type of stuff is going to rise massively. Let's keep going here. This is the kind of stuff as well too. Education Department advises against bleed tests in schools. This wouldn't be because it causes strain on the heart and with all the recent suddenly that has happened that they're trying to avoid it by blaming this, would it? So bleed tests now are out. I took them, and he's the one suffering. That's the boy with the epilepsy there. As I talked about that article earlier on. Sinn Féin's popularity drops as impact of certain trial hits support. I presume she's been arrested in an interview by Gardaí. I said didn't happen. Proposals to allow banks pay bonuses of up to €20,000. The Minister for Finance is expected to ask the Cabinet tomorrow to approve a plan that would see restrictions on salary and variable pay for bankers working. So basically, free rein again. So they took a couple of years about having things capped, and now they're like, free rein again. On the way out the door, lads. This is what we're going to do. This country is so corrupt, it's not even funny. Meanwhile, they're telling you to be happy with your little 6.5% or your 3% in your pension. Meanwhile, they're telling you, it's gone up 15%. Know what I'm saying? Unreal. Protesters blocked Port Tunnel as East Wall refugee accommodation row rumbles on. I said, nice. Aim and Ryan by 2025, Ireland will generate enough solar electricity to power the country. I'll be Taoiseach by 2025 is what I said, because there's two hopes of that happening, Bob Hope and No Hope. Widespread tributes to Wexford father of three who passed suddenly while working. Totally normal. Ireland is building too many large detached houses, says construction body. They're talking about rural Ireland in particular here. So, by the way, just so you know, this is rural Ireland they're talking about there. They're not happy with you doing this. Celebration of Vicky Phelan's life here. She was the best president of Ireland. The best president Ireland ever had. These articles are insane. Absolutely insane. 3 runners suffer heart attacks and 125 others require medical attention following Spanish half marathon. Coming from the Gateway Pundit. That's the Balenciaga thing as well too, obviously, as well. Some of the stuff there, obviously, you can see. Unreal. The difference between us, you took it and I wished you took the Voldemort and wished I would go. I watched you take the Voldemort and prayed you wouldn't. So that is the difference between us, you know. We have it here, the post as well too about Facebook. Now, Bradgar would absolutely say yes to Armin Gardaí have asked. I said, considering the media are floating out articles of how many boomsticks people have in the country, along with Andy Tifa wanting to get violent and now this, it would be wise to know how to defend oneself. Keep going here. The media hate Elon and Kanye, but they don't dislike, Jeffrey and Harvey. It's very true. Inside abandoned grounds of Daniel 800k Dublin gaff after cab swoop. Wednesday arrested the government. Paul Reid in the media. What's happening there? Any chance of that? No. Sinn Féin. TD raised concern over site for refugee homes and warned of possible serious divisions in our community. Paul Donnelly also suggested emergency accommodation for homeless people should be provided in parallel with refugee housing. They should be given first preference, not people outside of the country, dipshit. The people of Ireland do not condone or accept these people, not our problem, is what I said. So this is why you're saying now Sinn Féin are like, now that we have to look at the situation at hand, which is people are starting to realise that we're being overlooked, we have to do a little bit of something like that there. No parallel, no thanks, it should be refusal. Australia have something that works, which is they refuse people all of the time, and seems to work quite well. Seems to be very little problem. Let's get into the comments there. So again, thanks to everybody. I like to wrap these shows up pretty quickly nowadays. I want to go into the 2-hour mark, and that's really kind of where I want to go. Keeps people's attention, and I very much so appreciate everybody that joined me here on tonight's live. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell up above for future uploads. I appreciate everybody commenting as well too. Let me know down below what type of podcast things that you use, like is it Spotify or something else, to let me know where I can put the audio for this show onto that, because I'm seeing a lot of people with grown podcasts and I'm like, don't like any of those. I think people are hungry to hear about what's going on in various different ways. And no, not everybody watches this and doesn't like the video, or they might listen to it themselves while pottering around. Let me know anyway what you like down below. So anyway, that's the news section of what's going on, picking the articles from the week and discussing and talking about them, and obviously as well too, picking out what's happening here in this country and the wider world. We're trying to sprinkle in a bit of humour. So I'm going to jump into the chat now. I'll see you next Friday if you're going to bow out now at 7:30 Irish time, and I'll talk to you then. So we'll have a look now through the chat. Dirk Soldier says, my inner monologue became an external. Alicky Bill says, hey, Soldier. Our Thought says, hi, everyone. Good to see you here. Let's keep going. So I'm just going to go through to the comments here that are at Ninja Knight. Gina Bedov says, at Ninja Knight, thank God I was listening to the right people prior to 2020. I'm over 70 and my siblings, bar one, plus my friends have vanished because they thought I was mad. I'm so glad I'm me. That's the thing as well, you know, and I think when you've seen what's happened over the last few years, you can certainly take strength in the solace. Like, here's the thing. Obviously, I'm talking to you guys out here, and I view people that are here now to be friends, and people that obviously are in touch with me, I view them to be friends. I know it's kind of a weird one for people that are of an older generation, but you know, I know people in real life that have 100% torn on you, you know, and I'm like, well, when it came down to it, there's people across the place in different parts of the globe and in this country that I feel more so friendly with and definitely have more in common with than any of these other individuals, you know. So take solace in that anyway. I thought that's something I liked from Superman, Fortress of Solitude, and obviously Batman as well too, as Batcave. Love it, you know. Plastic Paddy says, "What's up, Ninja? Did you see they are going to use the bug card evidence in SEC? Going to be a slippery slope with people's rights. 100%. Good to see you here, Plastic Paddy. By the way, I have to get Plastic Paddy on for a stream at some stage as well. This fella's an American YouTuber, and I mean does brilliant stuff there, and he's reporting on what's happening. But it's interesting to see Plastic as well when." They initially said that they didn't have the evidence, they lost it, and then all of a sudden, then they found it. So, like to me, potentially a mid trial might be on the hands there. Mackie and Chance's Ninja Knight, Ye is making anyone who queries the as mentally ill. He's Look, I think the thing is about Kanye is he's interesting to see what people are taking, and to me, again, well, so I might not agree with everything that he says, and an awful lot of people don't, and that's fine, absolutely fine. He's doing some certain things that are interesting to witness, and he's making other people uncomfortable, and people in certain positions that have been afraid to make statements like he's been making. And it kind of says to me, like I said about the Hodge twins earlier on, really like them, like their stuff, but the fact that they were like, "Hey man, there ain't nobody that's on that," you know, can't do the accent, or they're like, "That's that." They're totally making her up, and like he's the one in the music industry. He sees all of this. You know what I mean? Have a look now as well. True thing. Yeah, there's good comments made there in the chat there. Who's that there? Sean Mack. Was it Sean Mack? No. No, Triple H says, I can't believe we never got a vote on things anymore like this hate speech law, no vote. Yeah, nobody voted for that type of shit, you know. Mackie and Change says, let's not forget, Anne's book was written with a ballpoint pen before it was invented. Yeah, there you go. Let's have a look here. Plastic Paddy says, oh, it's a chat that they're skipping on me now. I hate when it does that. People forget Operation Paperclip. The USA used lots of scientists from rocket research to radar tech. They were years ahead of everyone in engineering perspective. Absolutely. A lot of people do forget about that, Plastic Paddy, 100%. That's what I was touching on earlier on. A lot of stuff with NASA in particular. A lot of them forget about that, you know. Let's have a look here. As Paddy says, 90% of major music executives are of a certain faith. Chase Bank CEO is of a certain faith as well too. You know what I mean? Very clear. Alpha Egan makes a good statement there. Christian owns a business. It's a Christian-owned business. A Jewish-owned business, well, that's just an ordinary business. Of course, as you know. Satirical Soldier says Tracy's very relieved 2 years of that crap. Great to see her as well too. Great to see Tracy getting cleared up on that as well. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome to see it. And if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, they were trying to basically, in my opinion, slander and defame Tracy, and she has her name cleared now. It's great to see, you know, she's one of the very few that stood up and spoke out about what's been going on. Derek Man's stream is fine here, originally. Good to see you here. Even Ron's like, did Ninja cover Balenciaga already? Leanne Curtis makes a good comment there. It suggested that after tomorrow's assembly in town, we go up to the Joy, let Enoch Borg hear our voice. Yep. That's a good idea. Keen change, having a good laugh. Who's that there? It says that. Have a look. Corey Finn says Balenciaga at Brown Thomas. Wonder if Brown Thomas know what they promote. Interesting. Let's have a look through it. People talking about the suddenly video that's out there on Rumble. Haven't seen it yet myself. Must have a look at it. 30 makes a good comment. I've said it before as well. Too. Hob must buy his YouTube. I think that should be the next move that he makes. The next move that he makes. The only thing I will say about this though is he's still at the same thing. Like he's like, Neuralink sounds like a good idea, and I'm like, no, we don't want chips in our heads. you know. And you know, did you see the cat ranchers here in the USA invested into their own processing plant to go around these big companies? Their meat is going to be way cheaper. That's fantastic. I love to see that. Absolutely love to see that. I haven't got through much of this chat at all here. Just trying to go through where it says that tonight. The only thing is when you're scrolling through the chat, it happens on different devices, but it doesn't when you're going through it here on StreamYard, which is interesting. It doesn't highlight the name, so it does make it a little bit harder to kind of go through as well. Let's keep going here. Let's see what's happening. Now people do put in. I know for a lot of people as well too. They do make comments as well during the stream. Memory works is feedback ninja. Hopefully that got better during the stream with a bit of luck. Let's go through this. Derek Man says your local butcher will give you a better product than the stores. 100%. I always love the fact that the butcher's meat tastes completely different and much better than what you'll get out of the likes of. Let's go. Sergey Soldier says Ninja Knight, you're on fire. Much appreciated. Thank you. I was very energetic tonight. I don't know whether you've noticed that. Certainly at the start of the stream, I was like, pumped for this one. Pumped for this one, lads. Keep going. I get excited. This is the thing about these streams. I get excited. I play a little tune I do myself before I come on, and I'm like getting myself hyped for it. And then next ball, boom, we're into the stream. Love it. Obviously, as well, you probably noticed as well that I don't play the stream tune at the start of it, and that's because the platform didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. Not that the artist didn't like it. The artist was fine, but they've got a big. They got a big one with this. I bet other people use it, no problem at all. I always notice that. That other people can use songs and there doesn't seem to be any problem. But yeah, if you're talking the truth and you're using the song, they're like, nah, we don't want that. It's like, well, that's weird. A part of a 1014 there talking about the Uyghurs there as well in China. Nothing been said about them. Nothing been said about them at all, which is shambolic, isn't it? Art shows of grief that's it's hello all. Good to see you here. Raoul Meat Factory 1975 says good man ninja. Thanks very much. Derek Man says great shout, great chat as usual. Art Joseph says thank you ninja. We'll listen back now. Thanks very much. Good on you. Down. What's up ninja? And chat's been a while. I was offline for a bit, Mr. Ninja guy. Good to see you here. Derek Man says looking forward to seeing everyone tomorrow at the protest. Absolutely 100% ninja night. Good luck. Take care. Says catching a look at. Look. Kanye Ruffin and Federer says Catherine O'Connor 100%. It's very interesting to watch him. Reese Caddy says Ninja Knight, fourth time commenter. Good to see you here. Thanks very much for the comment. Much appreciated. I always appreciate people in the comments. I know people watch as well too and don't get involved in the comments, and that's absolutely fine, you know. Do you believe that the Voldemort is their first attempt at population control? I don't think it's the first attempt. I think when you looked at the likes of what they're trying to give out as well too, what do they say? The Planned Parenthood is what they say. It's how they use it. They use that terminology. That was their first attempt at it. That didn't really work by giving people what we say blockades and barriers. Then they moved on to, well, we'll just do something far more serious, and they cultivated an opinion, a general consensus amongst people that doing what they were doing was okay. And since then, they've rolled out the Voldemort, and the same thing is happening there. Like the suddenlies and aftershock endings and like that are just increasing, and people are asking questions, have been dismissed and been censored. And this is just another version of it now where they're like, oh, the general consensus wasn't with that. And now people are starting to wake up to the whole thing. So I don't think it's the first attempt at it, and it won't be the last. That's the thing. And Cordy says, Go Mila Margot Ninja August Gokdina, Ihawa August Kolasov. See you all tomorrow. Good to see you. John Max's team trained to Rocky. I love it. Anyway, guys, have a good weekend. God bless. Look after yourselves. Make sure you hug those loved ones tightly and tell them that you love them every day and all the time and as much as you can, especially the ones that realise what was going on, and especially those as well too that understand what's happening. Because again, it's important that you keep the morale up, you keep the optimism and hope going, because without that, you wouldn't be where you're at right now. And that's very important time, because again, like I said to you, the tide is turning. You've got Elon now in control, however well it might be. And Twitter, the fact that I love Gab is very important, obviously, and I like Gab, and I think it's a very good alternative, and I would absolutely 100% recommend it to as many people as possible. But Twitter as well too, starting to turn, is a very interesting thing to see. And I think that that's going to be interesting how things pan out. He's now telling you that the likes of Twitter interfered in major stuff, and he is now going to release an awful lot of documents and files. And the fact that he's wiping certain things off the platform is very, very big. And a lot of the people that are whinging about it now are starting to show their colours, which is very clear and very obvious. And I think it's interesting to see that. But there's an awful lot going on. It's very positive, obviously, and the more things that happen and the more times that these people have to maneuver the way they do, they basically told you over the last 2 weeks that the people of East Wall were Islamophobes, and basically the people of Ireland, as you can see there from the Times, a UK, a foreign outlet, fuck them, are basically telling you that you shouldn't be concerned about your own country. How about you people that were over there in the UK that tried to subjugate this country for hundreds of years? You go and get fucked is the first thing that should be said to you. And don't be putting your nose into any of our business. You can fuck off. How about that? Now, obviously, that's not as astute and it's not as clean as the last couple of weeks have been. Obviously, I'm obviously trying as much as possible to be as clean as possible. But that's how I feel about it, and that's how those type of outlets should be treated. They should be treated with total and utter disdain, and you shouldn't give any sort of quarter nor respect to them at all, because when you see what's happening with that country in the UK, people coming into the place and then they're shifting them on over to this country, you have no place to be telling us what to be thinking, especially here in Ireland after we fought you off for hundreds of years, and we continue to do so, and we will continue to do so. Because meanwhile, they think that you're just going to go away and say nothing. That's not going to be the case. Be brave, be courageous, stand up, speak out. And if that means that you lose someone in a family member or a friend or whatever like that, or an acquaintance like that, because they don't agree with what's actually going on in the world, you tell them what you think and let them make up their own decision. And at the end of the day, there's no gain, no loss if you decide to say that to somebody and speak up and be brave. Because here's the thing, you'll then feel better about it. And these people that are out there that are cognitively dissonant themselves are not getting what's going on. And not only that, then if they do understand it, they are going to feel it. If you're an individual that bought into what happened over the last 2 years and you haven't apologized yet and you realize what went on, you should feel great and utter shame. And so should everybody that has decided to buy into that for the last 2.5 years. But these people don't. And you have to remember that. So you got to look at it from that point of view, and you got to have that sort of mind frame in mind to say these people are an imminent threat, an imminent danger to my livelihood, my family, and my future, and the future generations of this country, because they are just onto the current thing. The current thing is super, super dangerous. And this is what I'm saying to you, and this is why it's important to point it out and keep pointing that out to as many people as possible. I do it. I have great time doing it as well, and I don't mind if people are like, don't talk to him over there. I don't mind that whatsoever, because for every 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 people you might get doing that, you'll have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people that are like, tell me more. You know what I mean? And that's what it's all about. Anyway, have a good weekend. Look after yourself. See you next week. God bless.